as a Hall of Fame voting group, we need to re-examine some careers. And I think we need to re-examine the career of Joe Klecko.
Dang, I want to see how I do against this guy, because he was the best.
Left guard can't handle Klecko.
Just knock the crap out of the guy across from you.
Intensity, bottom line. Never take a play off.
He was incredibly strong.
His just pure raw strength.
He was the same every play. Ball zone.
It was an incredible accomplishment to be dominant at one position in the NFL in your career, but to be dominant at three positions.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets,
Jets, yes! Yeah, I missed the accordion guy. I did. I forgot. I almost started it before the accordion thing. I forgot the accordion guy was there. What a delight. What a delight for me. I hope for you. But I am in such high spirits, my good friends. This is the return of the Thursday thick of it, where Frankie can no longer say it's the thin of it. It is the thick of it again. So thick, in fact, that we have our offensive linemen calling beat writers weirdos on Twitter. And we're going to get into all that stuff, guys. Welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed the 2-week hiatus. I had to shake the COVID off me. I had to scrub it off, man. The COVID was there. It was all over the place. So we had to get it out of here. And I'm in such a good mood. I think I might even bring on our co-friend, our little co-host action with Frankie from Flatbush, the creator of the term country club, Connor Hughes, and he now knows that. Let's say hello to Frankie from Flatbush. What's up, Frankie?
It's a wonderful day to be a Jet fan. It's a wonderful evening. Isn't it wonderful?
It is.
Isn't it lovely?
Joe
Douglas has done it again.
Nicely done, Frankie. I think it is a wonderful day. What a wonderful day, Jets fans. If you don't know what that means, maybe our guy Bismo down in Australia, or Braden in New Zealand, or maybe even Captain K Techno, who's asking about the price of bananas. He's got work to do here, Frankie. Maybe they don't know yet. Maybe the news takes a little minute. Although down under they might already know because they're in tomorrow, so they knew this already. The New York Jets signed someone that I think most Jets fans that are paying attention were hoping the Jets would sign. Linebacker Kwon Alexander. I've heard him called K-Wan. I've heard him called Kwon. But no matter what you call him, he is a former Robert Saleh player who knows the schemes. They know each other. He was very, very successful. He's known to be a linebacker who's strong in coverage, Frankie, which is something that we have proven we needed to take a look at. Wheel routes on third down, tight ends, maybe a little screen pass action. Kwon Alexander is very good in coverage and has also been known to pluck the ball from the air a time or two. What do you think? Are you happy about this Kwon Alexander signing?
Yeah, I'm very happy. It's an upgrade. And what I think it says, too, so we all know the linebacking core was probably the thinnest area on the defense. Even though we were all hopeful and still are of Sherwood and Hamza Nasruddin becoming something, they're at this point question marks. So here's a little bit of solidification of the unit. But I think more than that, I think what this really tells us, GreenBean, is that this organization probably looked at these players that they assembled on paper in the offseason and watched them come out to the grass and saw things going on. And they said, wait a minute. This might be better than we thought. We might actually have something here. We might actually have a team that could possibly contend. And if we add to this mix somebody like a Kwon Alexander, he might just be that little bit of extra that we need, that little bit, that extra role, that guy that we need, that veteran presence that might put us over the hump and get us into the playoff chase. Because after all, this is not a move you make and then you say, like we heard last year, we got to get Hamza Nasruddin reps. And we got to get Jamian Sherwood banking some reps for the future. And we got to get Brandon Eccles and Bryce Hall and all these people reps. This is a move you make if you think you could do something.
Yeah.
Frankie, that's what I think. The bigger picture is more exciting to me.
And on that point, before I say hello to everybody, I'm just so excited. Look how excited everybody looks. I got to get into this, the chat in just a second. But on to, just to dovetail with your point, it is a move that the Jets would make in the event they are thinking, okay, we might be able to compete. Now, that really dovetails nicely with the way that we managed and handled the draft. Joe Douglas has been known to acquire. He's been acquiring assets since he's got here, right? And even in the draft, it started with his first draft in the second round. He moved back with the Seattle Seahawks from pick 49 to 58. He got a couple thirds. He took that. He parlayed that with the Patriots. And he's been doing that, acquiring fifths and sixths and all that sort of stuff the whole time he's been here. But suddenly in this draft, we saw an aggressive general manager who not only traded up to get back into the first round, after having 2 top 10 first round picks, he traded back in. We saw him try to trade back in for a 4th first round pick. When that didn't happen, he traded up 2 spots with the New York Giants to grab Breece Hall. These are moves that insinuate the Jets are no longer trying just to get bodies in here, just acquire talent, acquire as many guys. This insinuates the Jets just might think that they can compete this year, and they needed that running back. They needed that edge rusher, and it was more valuable than the 2 fifth-round picks that they gave up to make those moves, Frankie. So I think I agree with you, man. Kwon definitely falls in line with that. You see it that way?
Well, it's a great point, GreenBean, because all 3 of those moves are moves where they were trying to fill a need. So you can think what you want about Jermaine Johnson. We traded up to get him because of what he does. In other words, he does something very well. He plays the wide 9, and he's going to set the edge, and that's a role he's going to play. And so that was very important that we get him in particular. And the same thing with Breece Hall. It wasn't just let's get a running back. It was no. We need Breece Hall because of his particular skill set, and it's worth giving up, draft assets later to get him in particular. In this case, it's another thing like that. Yeah, Kwon Alexander isn't exactly, Darius Leonard, although Darius Leonard now has a new name, as I understand it.
Yeah, I heard he changed it.
He's not exactly Fred Warner, okay? He's not going to set the world on fire, but he's going to play a role for us. He's going to be a coverage backer. He's going to green dog some running backs and some tight ends, and he's going to do coverage things, and he's going to help on screens. And so it was worth it now to get a player to fit a specific role, and you do that when you think you can, at least you think you can compete. And so I think it's all of a piece. I think you're 100% right, GreenBean.
Yeah. And that makes me happy, dude. Look, I'm a big fan of the draft and asset. I love draft picks. I love it all. I do. But you know what I like a little bit more than all that shit is winning games.
How about winning?
If we could compete. So look, Frankie, I'm not sure if you knew what was going on in the chat here, but B2B put this little comment up there. B2B tried to leapfrog our consistent friend, Jets Free. Said, before Jets Forever, but a split second before that, Jets Forever snuck this bad boy in there. And they're literally together in the chat thread. So good job, Jets Forever. Nice try, B2B. I'll give you credit. Why not give you some credit? But at least B2B acknowledged it. Said, oh, man. You beat me by 1 second. So we got
what this all means. You know what this means, GreenBean?
What does that mean?
It means Jets Forever is a freaking legend. That's what
he is.
He's a legend. He knows it.
That's so funny, man. Look, if we're gonna give Jets Forever anything, I mean, Jets Forever is here every stream, right? If he misses one every now and again, I'd be even surprised at that. He's everywhere, right? He's very consistent, and we appreciate that. But he starts every stream with this little Jets colored green heart, And now once he does that, he proceeds to tell people you're a moron, you don't know what you're doing, everybody's an idiot. He goes off the rails from time to time, right? That's what Steven said. He's like, before Jets Forever goes off the rails, because he does. But one thing I can give Jets Forever, people, every stream somebody suggests that Jets Forever is a troll. Every stream somebody goes, don't worry, he's trolling. He's not trolling. I mean, he might be a little bit, but he really believes this shit that he's saying. He really believes it. And the good news is he's just a massive fan of a lot of the players that we have. He believes in guys like Denzel Mims, like Zach Wilson, so many Sauce Gardner. He thinks that they're the best guys to be on the field and that we should nurture them. So all that sort of stuff. So you might not agree with him. I don't. About at least 60% of the time, I do not agree with Jets Forever, but you got to give it. You got to give it to him for consistency, and he's in love with the same team we're in love with. So Braden's here. Like I said, B2B. Stephen Ingle popped in. It's good to see you, Braden. Braden's happy. He actually texted me on the side during this hiatus, Frankie. He's like, dude, like, get off the couch. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what to do.
People missed you, Greenbean. So many comments I would get on my videos. It was a little annoying, Greenbean, because they would say, "Oh, nice video, Frankie." But can you tell me about Greenbean? Can we have an update on Greenbean, Frankie? Yeah. Video. Yeah, nice. But what about Greenbean?
He's like, what? Yeah, Tuesday news day. Oh, good news. How's Greenbean doing? Yeah, Joe Grana, thank you. And look, I love you guys too. You guys know I try really hard to communicate with as many of you guys in a real way, not just like, hey, thanks. You know what I mean? Like I try really hard to communicate with you guys as much as I can. And I'm grateful for you guys. We got Jay-Z Jets fan. We got our linebacker. Now we got 3 linebackers to face the AFC. That's right. That's right. Our good buddy Harry is back. Harry broke the news to me. I heard the Kwon signing from Harry. That's we wondered if he was the guy, like Connor Hughes said the other night, if maybe Harry was sending $2,000 bottles of scotch out there, because Harry got the news early, buddy.
You can buy a journalist real easy, we found out.
That's it, $2,000. $2,000 bottle of, but specifically bottle of scotch, but who knows how many bottles of scotch. I don't think one did it. I don't think one. It's every Friday, probably. Harlan Abraham is here. Chris Bradigan, our good buddy. Duncan McLean. Sean McAteer. Ryan Jett is back. It's good to see you guys. Daniel Murphy. Let's see. Sluggo's back. Smoke him if you got him. Damn Skippy. I'm going to smoke him if you got. I got this thing. It's technically not smoking. So when I go to the doctor and they say, do you smoke? I say, no, proudly. I go, no, I don't. And they go, do you vape? I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, same question, idiot. Let's see. Jay-Z, Bean and Frankie. Can't think of a better way. I agree with you. I agree. Let's scroll down. Ant Jets is here. Daniel Yanez. Eminon's back. That's right. Eminon's here. Matthias Simon, my old good buddy. GreenBean, New York Jets linebacker. Kwon Alexander. I just couldn't be happier. Now, the thing is with Kwon Alexander, too, is like, I'm not thinking, like, I actually popped into the Jet Lounge earlier. I saw them. I was dropping my son off at his first ever high school football practice, Frankie. And I'm all nervous. They're like, this is so much bigger than the school we went to last year, and he played and everything, the Albemarle Patriots. He's on the Fluvanna County team right now, and it's just so many people, and I'm a little bit nervous. He's like, it's all new. He didn't, he's starting high school and everything. So I saw that the Jet Lounge was there, and with the Kwon Alexander, and I jumped over, and there were people having some really great conversation on there. If you haven't been to the Jet Lounge on Twitter, it's fantastic, and I mean that sincerely. But one guy said, he actually asked me, do you think the signing of Kwon Alexander now puts the Jets into playoff contention, like fighting for the wild card? And I have to say, I don't necessarily see it that way. I think that the team is being built in such a way that if we stay healthy And if our plans can, like, if everybody continues to function well within the offense and everything Saleh and LaFleur and Ulbricht and Boyer are doing, I think that we can be a competitive team. And when you're a competitive team, that means you can win any week, right? That's what it means. It means that we're not, the Adam Gase 2019 Jets, where it's just like, people they're coming in to beat you up, and that's going to be that. So I don't think that the signing of Kwon Alexander now pushes me to that wild card thing, but I think what it really does, the best way I can say it, is it solidifies the idea that we are going to compete. Like we were saying earlier, I think whether it's just to motivate a Sherwood, like Sherwood is supposed, he's light enough, he's quick enough, he's athletic enough, he played safety. He's supposed to be able to be a coverage guy. He's supposed to have that skill set. Now, maybe he's here to kind of push those guys. I don't know. Maybe he's here to take Quincy Williams off the field on third down so he can be a coverage guy. Maybe he's here to break apart the 4-2-5 thing and do a little bit more traditional 4-3 action. I'm not sure, but I think it definitely solidifies what we're trying to do with a quality NFL starter who averages approximately 12 games a year. He had a couple years there where he was like 7 or 8 games, but he played like 16 games once, 12, 6, 7, 12, 12. Like he's looking like a 12 game a year guy. And if we pitch count him and kind of have him very specific roles, I think that he can maybe be around all year for us. And I think that really helps the cause. So it doesn't move the needle over to, now he's not Von Miller, right? At the same time, I think it's a really strong positive, and it shows that Joe Douglas is never sleeping. The guy never sleeps, and this is it makes me feel really good about the direction that we're going as we start training camp.
And I guess another point to be made is he chose to come here. Now, by all reports, he didn't exactly have tons of offers, but it's another veteran who said, yeah, I'm signing up for the Jets. Yeah. CJ Uzama said, yeah, I'm going to the Jets. And Tyler Conklin said that, and Jordan Whitehead, and all the people we picked up, people are starting to say yes to us a little more. And I think that's quanderful, as Pete
That's right. As we beat this one into the ground. All right. Yeah, I'm with it. Now, we have a super chat from Edward Ziff. I'll remind you guys, super chats are appreciated. We do love them, and we will try to get to as many comments as we can, obviously, but super chats, like Jake Asman always says, they skip the line. It's the fast pass at Disney World. We will be guaranteed to get to your super chats, and it helps the channel, so we appreciate it. Edward Ziff checking in. Oh, you know what? Before Edward, I meant to say this in my opening deal here. As always, Jeremy Jets Chaos himself and Y2K are here with us. You probably have seen them in the chat already, but they're here helping us out, and we appreciate them as well. New York Sports Media is Y2K's channel, and Jets Chaos is Jeremy's channel, and you guys can support them as well because they're here helping to make the Thursday Thick of It as good of a show as we can, and we appreciate it. So Edward Ziff is talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, Frankie, and I'll admit something. I put so much work into this, because I'm old and I don't edit well, right? So I had to put all this work into this Joe Klecko to Canton video. Guys on Reddit, everybody's talking, where's the content creators? They said they're going to put out a Klecko video. So I put out this video and I expected it. I never have high expectations, but for this one, I said, this one's going to be great. It's going to blow up. And nobody's watching it, Frankie. So what the hell's going on? Why don't anybody watch my Joe Klecko video? I made a video about why Joe Klecko should get to the Hall of Fame. Nobody's watching it.
This is a weird thing about content creation. I had I put out this video about Quinnen Williams that I thought was so good. I looked at the PFF grades. I put together a little website to compare him to his peers. And I thought it was the best video ever, and nobody watched it. So
it's crazy. And then
I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. And then you slap together something like, hey, Zach's girlfriend said, and they're 15,000 views. It's I don't. All right. So Edward, thank you for the super chat. He says, I heard Joe Klecko is a Hall of Fame finalist. Is this true? That is true. A couple weeks ago, we mentioned to you, we had a little Joe Klecko discussion. that he was a semifinalist. He made it past the semifinalist round. Now, through my research, I can actually expand upon this for you guys, if I may, Frankie. He said, or not he said, but here's how it goes. So in July, the senior committee, which is a separate group of guys than the regular voting committee. There might be some crossover, but it's a separate group, a separate committee in and of itself. They vote on the finalists. So they get down to 25. In late July, that's mid-July. In late July, they whittle that down to the final 12. Then, when the final 12 are identified, the president of the Hall of Fame will assign 2 contemporaries of the larger part of the group of finalists. Once they know like what eras they're from, they'll grab 2 contemporaries to act as consultants, to come into the committee and actually plead their case one way or the other to raise finer points. Like, here's something you don't know about these guys, blah, blah. So they assign these contemporaries as consultants, and they come into the committee and they have a conversation. Then those guys are jettisoned, and the committee votes without, those guys don't have any vote, those consultants. Then the committee will vote. Now, the reason that we're hearing more Klecko the last few years than we have been is because we have 2 allies on the senior committee, 2 major Klecko allies. One is Gary Myers, who you may remember from the Daily News. He did some Jet Beat stuff, but more journalistic stuff. Then he's not just the covering the games guy for the Daily News for many years. He was also on the at least the first incarnation or the second incarnation of Inside the NFL. He was there before Chris Collinsworth with Nick Bonacani and Len Dawson. I'm showing some age here, Frankie. So Gary Myers was on that. He was kind of the journalist, aspect of that show. And then he is now, he's an author as well. So he's on the committee. And then we have, you guys might know this one too, Peter King is also on the senior committee. And he has been vocal about getting Klecko reevaluated. As it says, I found a clip from one of the Klecko videos that the NFL made, or that Klecko to Canton made, that Peter King said, look, we need to reevaluate some careers, and Joe Klecko is one we need to reevaluate. So we have those 2 guys on the committee, which helps a great deal getting Joe Klecko. Now, I don't know, a lot of you guys might not know this too. Last year, Joe Klecko not only made it past the 25 and past the 12, he was one of 2. He was one of 2 guys left last year, and he was beaten out by Cliff Branch, who is a Oakland Raiders great. He's kind of credited with a lot of the legends from the Raiders in the 70s and 80s. They all got into the Hall of Fame. They're all these big name legends. He's the guy that made it possible for all those guys to be so great. But he's a numerous, like 3-time All-Pro. He led the league in receiving, all that sort of stuff. So he's another deserving guy. It just sucks that he's the one that pushed Klecko out. So I really do believe, Frankie, that if we make enough noise, this is the 2-week period that we should be making as much noise as Jets fans that we can right now. Articles, Reddit, tweeting Peter King, whatever we can do right now to let them know that we are watching. This isn't just another regular senior candidate. There is a passionate outcry for Joe Klecko to get there. I think, Frankie, he could do it. I think this might be the year, buddy.
Well, if they could just ask, if they just have, the contemporaries, if one of those contemporaries is Anthony Munoz, ask Anthony. You think Anthony Munoz was a good offensive lineman? I think he was of a fairly high quality.
Yeah, I've heard nice things about him. Nice.
Yeah. He was known to be able to block some people. Ask him about Joe Klecko. Ask him about Joe Klecko. He'll tell you he's about the hardest guy he's ever had to block. I'll tell you that much. Get Anthony Munoz in that damn room, and he'll tell you all about Joe Klecko. He'll convince you. Put him in the hall right now.
Yeah, that would be great if they did end up getting someone like that. Somebody who's actually played against him. I mean, numerous
had to block his ass. Like it's hard to block that man. He's so strong. Yeah. Don't ask a wide receiver contemporary. Get an offensive lineman in there. Go ahead, tell the stories. You'll be talking for 6 hours how hard it was to block.
They'll be like, we have to put him in. Like we simply have to. Now, Joe Klecko has a very grounded approach to the idea that he's not in there. He has said, look, I've been told by numerous people that I'm better than the Pro Bowl guys, the All Pros on the field with me. But we were 3-13 at the same time. So when we're playing against a team, they're in the playoffs. We're 3-13. Back then, we didn't have news like we did today. If you were 3-13, you got no coverage. It was just that simple.
You know what? But you know what? That kind of, in a way, strengthens his case. He didn't have the best teammates around him. He did it with hardly any. I mean, eventually he did, but for some of the years he didn't have. You know, this is a defensive line. You win together or lose together. They could double and triple team Joe Klecko. That makes his job harder, not easier. So
Yeah.
you know, you could look at it like that. Like this guy performed with nobody around him. I mean, come on.
No, and that's true. We know it's another little wrinkle on Klecko is that he played with the old Namath uniforms. Like his first couple years, or at least his first year, I forget if it was 1 or 2, he played with the old Namath uniform. So there's Klecko footage of him looking like, Don Maynard out there. He like wearing that uniform. And then he played with the 80s, 90s logo. But Joe Klecko, his rookie year, he's a 6th round pick. He was just he's a 6th. He's like, okay, we'll throw that guy on here. Out of Temple, no less. So he's a 6th round pick out of a small school. He's playing for the Owls, the Temple Owls. He comes in, he gets 8 sacks his rookie year. Now, that's in addition to like 96 tackles or something along those lines. Like he dominated his rookie year. He plays defensive end for a bit. They move him inside. No, he gets 20 and a half sacks. Then they move him inside, and he's an all-pro at defensive tackle. And a Pro Bowler, obviously. He's a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro. Then he gets injured, whatever, and does some things. And then they switch defenses from the 4-3 to the 3-4. And they say, hey, we need you to go to nose tackle, which if you guys don't know is most of the time directly over the center, completely different position, skill set. When we talk about our defensive linemen now, we go, oh, well, he's not really a 1-gapper, he's a 3-gapper, and that's why he's not good. Like those little moves completely neutralize players a lot of the time. Like their skill sets are like refined to such a degree that they will not succeed 2 steps over on the same damn defensive line. Joe Klecko, defensive end, defensive tackle. They throw him over the center. Guess what he does? He gets 7.5 sacks from nose guard, in addition to 90+ tackles and a bunch of forced fumbles, and another Pro Bowl and a second-team All-Pro. So, I mean, the guy, how you could possibly ignore it? It just makes no sense.
It's because, I don't know, people just never valued the defensive line. There was no advanced statistics like we have today. When did they start even counting sacks, GreenBean? Did he have any of the years before he – like was he playing before they counted sacks even?
I believe it's either 1982 or 1983 they started the sacks. So interestingly enough, Klecko led the league in sacks in 1981, of course. Now, it is my belief, and I've heard this conversation out there, I didn't create this idea, but I definitely absorbed it and adopted it, that it was the sack exchange that kind of raised the awareness of how important and how exciting the sacks were, and the NFL started
even more reason to put the guy in the hall. He's part of a group that raised the elevation of defensive sacks and all of that. I mean, that should be part of it too. He's part of a legendary. You can't tell the story of the NFL without the sack exchange. You can't. Sorry, you cannot.
That's how I see it.
He goes to the Hall of Fame. What are they even doing? This is so annoying to me.
Right. Now, Kevin Vafadust chimes in with a super chat. Near and dear, right to my heart, Kevin. This is a blanket around me on a cold night. If Klecko doesn't make the Hall this year, we riot. This has gone on long enough. And I say that in the video, right, Kevin? It's like, but here's the thing, Kevin, while I agree on the back end, that should be our response or some variation of what a riot could be in internet ways, right? I don't want to have a torch, but at the same, but right now we have an opportunity. We have a 2-week period. August 16th is when they will vote. August 16th is when they will vote Joe Klecko in the Hall. If you guys don't remember, I actually got to do a live stream from the Hall of Fame last year. I contacted them. They let me in. They treated me like royalty, Frankie. They toured me around. They brought me into some closets and showed me some stuff. Dude, it was amazing. And you know what's really funny about that? I did that for Jetnation. I was so excited about that video. I got the Winston Hill and Alan Faneca was about to be inducted. It was a couple days before induction week, and it was all kinds of hubbub and mayhem. And I'm in the Hall of Fame, and I'm doing my Jets stuff. I'm wearing my Jets jersey and everything. And I make this awesome video, and 200 people watched it. 200 people, Frankie.
You don't have your finger on the pulse of what people want, GreenBean.
I guess I don't. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. But I am getting a lot of love in the chat. These guys are saying, "Hey, we watched it. Those 600 views or whatever it is, that's us." All right. So thank you guys. I do appreciate it. Look, I know there's love out there, but what surprised me is that I know most Jets fans, especially if you're older than 25 years old, and even those, but especially if you're over 25, everybody cares and wants Joe Klecko to be honored with the Hall of Fame nod. Everybody, but we got to jump on at some point. You gotta be a part of the noise. You got to bring your pots and pans and you got to bang them together with us. You know what I mean? Or else it's not going to work. But I think this is the year, Frankie. We got to make some noise. There is a hashtag Klecko2Canton, the number 2 and Canton. If you're on Instagram, put up your Klecko pictures, Klecko pictures, and do Klecko to Canton. Do it on Twitter. Let's increase the traffic to the hashtag. Let's
link to GreenBean's video. If you're on Twitter, just say, "Here's why Klecko goes to the Hall." Link to GreenBean's video, and then click Klecko to Canton right underneath. Right? I mean, I think that's a good thing to do.
I do. I think you guys should be linking my videos to everything, quite frankly. But yeah, Steed says, yeah, Klecko might be one of our best players ever. Dude, it's the truth. Yeah. For another little nugget on our Klecko diatribe, his number is retired. He's one of just a handful of numbers. At one time, he was only the 3rd number retired ever by the New York Jets. In 2004, they retired his number. And now we also have, in 2012, we had Curtis Martin's number 28 is retired. And we also have just my favorite player, Dennis Byrd. It's just such a shame what happened to him, of course, but his number 90 is retired as well. But even that, it's only 5. It's only 5 guys, and one's through tragic purposes. So anyway, Klecko is the man. He's more than deserving. And guys, this is our opportunity to make as much noise as we can. I highly suggest that we do just that. I love it, Frankie. I think I'm going to try. If Klecko gets inducted, I'm absolutely reaching out to the Hall of Fame, see if I can't come back. I'm going to be like, come on. This is our big one. This is our big whale.
Well, you should ask him if you could be an honorary guest. You should ask him if you could introduce him.
Yes, you're right.
Shoot for the stars, GreenBean. Let's go.
I should ask that, man.
Yeah. What are they going to do? Say no?
They're like, actually, Weeb Eubanks coming back from the dead. No, okay. All right.
Walt Michaels is coming.
Yeah, right. Oh, poor Walt Michaels. That's another tragic one. Tragic in a football sense. But Daniel Murphy checking in, Frankie says, Frankie's take on the GreenBean Connor show. By the way, F's meaning. Well, Frankie, that is it's a nice little segue. What were your thoughts? I saw you in the chat. I appreciated your presence. I also, I hope you appreciated my nod to you. I made sure that you were included. What did you think of the overall show? You can be honest if you didn't like it. We have our feelings, but Daniel's wondering, what'd you think?
I think there was a lot of positives. Thank you for mentioning that about me. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that Connor Hughes is adopting for himself and sort of saying, yeah, I am country club Connor. I like it. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But overall, I would say you did a great job, actually, GreenBean. I think that your background with counseling and so forth came in very handy. It was clear that you were doing an excellent job managing, because it could have been contentious, could have been, but I thought you did a very nice job interviewing, and I thought, boy, GreenBean's background as a counselor is really coming in handy here. Because if it were me, it might go a little different because I don't have that background. So I thought that served you well. And I also give Connor a lot of credit for coming on. He didn't have to come on. He also apologized, so he admitted wrongdoing. So that's something, and you got to give the guy credit for apologizing, and also for having the cojones to come on with you directly, face you directly after he said what he said, and face the chat. Although he didn't really face the chat. I mean, there were some things came up.
It was brutal for a little bit in there. That's when I decided. About 18 minutes in, I was like, I'm not going to include the chat tonight.
Yeah, we tried, but I mean, but we learned a lot, I think, during that interview as well. I mean, he did let us into his world a little bit, and I think we learned a lot. I mean, we did get confirmation that the agents are the ones who send us the information. That's how it works. They text us, and then we just cut and paste and put it in Twitter, and that's how we break stories. Confirmed. I've been talking about that.
You've mentioned that on numerous occasions. Which confirmation is nice, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, he even admitted he doesn't watch film. He doesn't break down numbers. Like we even mentioned Michael Nania. He said, I don't do things like Nania, so I got to do things differently. So he kind of admitted that his football knowledge isn't top notch, which we already knew. So that's confirmation as well. And then, but the other thing I think we learned too, I don't know. I wonder what you think about this, GreenBean. It seems to me from what he said about his contacts at the Jets, that what the Jets realized with Connor Hughes is that they have here a mark. They have a mark that they could set up for a long con. So I think what they do is they feed him, little bits of true information, and throughout the year, so that he gets it, so that source becomes trusted. And then when it's draft time, when they need to send up smoke screens, they use Connor to send the smoke screens.
I picked up a lot of that as well. I mean, he look, I have to say that I learned a few things in that interview. Before I get into that, I want to before everybody leaves, I want to acknowledge two of our good friends in the chat. Jeremy, he has this weird signal. It's very effective though, Jeremy. I want you to know. He holds up a ring light against this screen, and it's like it brightens up the whole cube. So he let me know that Matt O'Leary is here. So I want to say hello to our very good buddy Matt O'Leary, who will be with us opening day. Hello, Matt. It's good to have you here. But I also want to acknowledge Dylan Terriman from Jetnation Radio. He's here as well. Dylan, if you guys haven't listened to Jetnation Radio, I know a lot of you guys do. It's one of my favorite shows. It has none of the baloney. It's just like good. And Dylan is another stat guy in that Nania mold. I don't want to say that they're the same. They're not. But Dylan is good, man. Like he's I think you guys will enjoy it if you haven't given Jetnation Radio. It's an audio podcast, and it's fantastic. So we're real happy that you guys are here. What's O'Leary talking about? I can't find his. There he is. He goes, hi. Hey, what's up, Matt? Hey, Bean. Hey, Matt. It's good to see you, buddy. I love when you guys pop in. That's so cool. And Matt O'Leary says he loved the interview. I know Matt was clipping it. He was cutting pieces. And you know what? I didn't even realize I said this, but I saw it on Matt O'Leary's Twitter. This is an honest story. Matt O'Leary, I was talking to him after. He said, I clipped a couple things. And so I looked on his Twitter, and he had the comment that I asked Connor Hughes. I was kind of rubbing his, just kind of busting his balls a little bit. I said, hey, how'd you feel when Mekhi Becton walked up like $6 million of prime beef? I said, because I heard he was fat, and that was me like kind of poking at him a little bit, lightheartedly. And he answered, he took it very perfectly, actually. But anyway, I didn't even know I said that. $6 million of prime beef. Who the hell says that, Frankie? I don't even know where that came from. But he did look like prime beef.
I think overall, and telling from the chat, I think by the end of the night, everybody kind of had the same sentiment that Matt O'Leary is expressing here. I think everybody loved the interview. Everybody thinks you did a good job, GreenBean, and it was very informative. I think probably people were very impressed by how open Connor was with what he told us. The only real criticism I had is that I kind of wish you would have got into his most egregious tweet of all, which was the 0 reasons for Mekhi to miss voluntaries. That was the one thing I was like, that was a missed opportunity. Because I would have loved to know what his mindset was to put that out. That's what I was curious about.
Let me speak in smoke signals to you right now. You know that I've brought that up numerous times. So the fact that I didn't, what do you think about that?
Well, I guess you made a decision that was probably a line you didn't want to cross, I guess.
Yeah, something of to that effect. I mean, Connor Hughes told me numerous times. I offered to be kind. You know what I mean? Like I said, don't worry, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be landmines. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be, but I'm not. It's not gonna be landmines. But he didn't ask me to stay away from too much. There was a little tiny handful of things with very good reason. So I just chose to honor that. That's not necessarily one, but there was a package of stuff. And he explained it to me why. So I just said, okay. I mean, we have more than enough ball busting to do. You know what I mean? So,
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, so, and I don't, look, the whys of it, but I thought that it went well, at least from my perspective. I thought he was more open than I expected. So I appreciated it, man. And I fully intend to ask him a few things. I gotta talk to some people, and they're not answering me, Frankie. So I'm gonna see if Connor can help me. But that's about it.
Well, let me ask you this, GreenBean. One thing I thought maybe could have happened because of all this, because of the whole thing and him coming on. Do you think it's possible that this type of thing where the fans react the way they did, and then he has to be contrite and apologize and all of that? Do you think now he might even become a little bit better of a journalist? Because if you look at him, 85% of the things he says and puts out are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it, But then there's this 10 to 15% where it just drives you insane. So you wonder if something like this and the reaction he got might make him think twice about that little 10 to 15% of stuff that he probably knows is in a gray area at the very least, and maybe this type of thing might help reform him into a little bit better of a journalist going forward.
Well, look, I think I would be, I think it'd be presumptuous for me to draw, finite and definitive conclusions from it. But I will say this: did you see his tweets about Denzel Mims the following day?
I did.
You notice anything?
Yes, they're super complimentary. Mims is on fire. Mimsy's on fire.
Mimsy's on fire. So, like, look, I think just like I was impacted from it, I think that anybody, involved in anything like that, I think there's impact to go around. So I don't know what it'll do, but I did notice that he seemed overtly positive about a guy that we spoke, that we discussed at length. So I think maybe, man, just drawing people's attention to things, including myself, drawing attention to things so we could see the gain perspective on it, I think is beneficial. We got to keep talking. That's the whole thing.
Right.
Like I did have a couple people that said to me, why the hell are you having him on? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like a little bit upset with me. And I said, well, guys, I believe in discourse. Like I believe heartily in, like, when I disagree with somebody, to hear them, because generally speaking, if you've ever seen Three's Company or Home Improvement, the whole episode is based on a friggin' misunderstanding.
That's true.
Jack Tripper is all bent out of shape. Mr. Furley is losing his mind because he thinks something that isn't real. It's not real. So gaining perspective is very, very important. And we can't do that without hearing each other. And I'm a big fan of that, especially with my background and everything. I learned through pain that listening is important, and I learned how to listen. Like when you're sleeping in a hallway in Newark in late January, it's 3 a.m. and it's 12 degrees outside. You learn some things. You know what I mean? You gain humility, let's say. Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So anyway, I think that's what I'll say about that. Slaugo says he watched the video. Beat writers need to. I agree. Slaugo, let's get it out there. Let's get it out, buddy. We got to do it. But I'm a big fan of if Klecko gets in the Hall of Fame, and then let's break into some camp stuff. I'm excited, Frankie. We have so much meat on this bone. We don't want to fill up on appetizers here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we don't want to eat 5 bowls of salad and breadsticks, which is Olive Garden's whole trick, by the way. You don't want to do that. If Klecko gets into the Hall, we should absolutely get out there. We should. And let's watch let's go out there. Let's have a good time. The Hall of Fame, anybody who hasn't been there as a football fan, it feels like hallowed ground. I'm telling you, there's a reverence. If you love the game like I love the game, and it's attached to your childhood and everything like that, when you walk in there, it has an impact. It's immediate. Like the year I went, now people could feel about Roger Goodell as ever they want. But you remember the chair that he had the people sit in on stage? It was like that chair was the first thing you see when you walk in. And it was like, all right. Like, oh yeah, I know the chair. Like, and it was just like they have a really good way of keeping it to what's going on right now, but you walk back in time, man. And it's just, I don't know, I loved it. And there's a Joe Namath hologram show, which is kind of the crown jewel of the Hall of Fame, other than the bust room. The Joe Namath locker room hologram is mwah, and Curtis Martin's in it. So it's all Jets. The way I saw it, that was a Jet show to me.
Road trip. I think we got a road trip coming up.
Yeah.
All we got to do is organize it.
I think so, especially if Klecko gets in. Look, we've done well the last few years, guys. We had Mawai, we've had Curtis Martin a little bit, but very recently Mawai, and then we had Winston Hill, who was voted in by the senior committee, frankly. I don't think people recognize that. Like, the senior committee is relatively new. That wasn't guys in the past, they were just gone. They were just out of sight, out of mind. So the senior committee's job is specifically to go back in time and say, we dropped the ball here. We missed somebody. Right. And Winston
baseball does a good job of that. Baseball does a very good job of that. And baseball in general does a much better job of honoring its history. Football needs to do a better job of that.
Well, I think they're learning. Right. I agree. And they probably received tons of criticism, Frankie, over the years. And I think that the Hall of Fame answered it. I mean, like they created an entire committee to do just that. And I think it's already paid New York Jets dividends. Winston Hill. And then from Winston Hill, we saw Alan Faneca got in, who's not a Jet per se, but he is. Okay. He was a member of the 2009 Jets that we got to the AFC Championship game. And then we cut him for Vlad Dukas. You know how that goes and whatever. But still, there are Jet connections happening in the Hall of Fame. We had, who was the other guy? Ed Reed. He goes, I want to thank the Jets for letting me, and the Texans let me finish my career there. I loved it. But Baltimore, it's like, okay, get that out of the way. So he's a Raven, and we know that. Gator World NFT wants to know if I think Mo Lewis belongs in the Hall of Fame. It's an interesting question because I do. But I'm also a realist. What I would rather see, not rather, but what I think, like you can't go for the throat on every swing, right? Like I think Klecko is very realistic. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Mo Lewis, you would have to not only re-engage a conversation about Mo Lewis, but you would also have to go through the the blatantly ignored years. So he doesn't have the accolades that
that's the problem
that Joe Klecko has. He does have an All-Pro. He does have a couple of Pro Bowls, but he was largely ignored because of Derek Thomas and Junior Seau, which you could understand, but there were numerous years where he was better than them and was flat out ignored. So Hall of Fame, do I think if Mo Lewis was on the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers or of that era, if he was on the Dallas Cowboys of that era, he's a Hall of Famer without question. In my mind. And I think my mind can be weird sometimes, but I think in this case, it's not. And when you look over Mo Lewis's numbers, that said, Gator World, I don't think it's real, but I would like to see him on the damn Ring of Honor. I don't like how he was leapfrogged. Look, I love Revis.
But
right?
there's always next year. We got to save some for every year because they tie him into ticket packages. And so, they're probably doling it out. But Mo Lewis is going to be tough to get into the Hall of Fame because what is he? 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro 1, 1-time All-Pro 2. Yeah, those are tough. I mean,
it's tough
because that's the first thing that the voters are going to go for. Like
that's right.
If you're only a 3-time Pro Bowler, it's like you're in the Hall of the very good.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, to even get into the room, it's like they're checking your credentials. Like we can talk about it later, but he was ignored for literally 10 years.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to justify, but wait, I was ignored. It's like, yeah, well, dude, we can't go rewrite history now. You know what I mean? It's a shame. It really is. I'll tell you what I would like, Frankie. I would like the Jets to recognize him and put him in the Ring of Honor. But even more so, I would like Jets fans to cut the shit with Mo Lewis. Like, we've whittled his career down to one play, which was an amazing play. And at the time, 100% of Jets fans cheered like they just won the Super Bowl. And he was the first $100 million quarterback, Drew Bledsoe. He was just re-signed. Like, he was the Patriots, right? Mo Lewis took their quarterback out of the game in game 2 in the 9/11 game. Like, there was so much emotion around that, and Mo Lewis came through, Frankie, for us. And it just so happened Tom Brady was born. You know what I mean?
And so every time his name comes up, somebody will talk about that. And it's like the dude had an amazing career.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. So that's what's sad to me. It's like Hall of Fame. I think that's a stretch, Gator World. But I would like to make it my plight, and I've started to, but I'm going to continue that to kind of change the perception among Jets fans. Like, there are Jets fans that are young. They only know Mo Lewis about that. That's it. They don't know that he played for us for 12 years and was only injured once. He played 16 games every single year. We moved him from, 4-3 linebacker, pass rusher, 10 sacks to coverage linebacker, 4 picks. Like, we don't know. He's just like Klecko. He did everything.
Yeah, he did everything.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor. I say Ring of Honor and retire his number. Why not? That dude was insanely good. And at least that way the Jets recognize, okay, he didn't get to the Pro Bowl because of Derek Thomas and Junior Seau and this one and that one, but we know how good he was. You know what I mean? We recognize how dominant this dude was because he was dominant, and it's a shame. Ring of Honor and retire his number. Let's go.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. Like, I would be very happy if Jets fans kind of revisited their thought process and said, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right. Mo Lewis was a stud muffin, and he was a stud muffin during some just very lean years. Him and Kyle Clifton's another one. I can go on and on. You want to do this all night? Fuck it.
I mean, this is why you should be the Jets librarian / historian, GreenBean. Nobody has historical recall like GreenBean.
I'm telling you. It's a funny thing with Kyle Clifton. Like, they didn't start counting solo tackles and all that shit till I think it was 2003. So whenever you look at the most tackles, it's always going to go to Ray Lewis, always, because that's when they started. Kyle Clifton had more tackles than Ray Lewis, but Ray Lewis has the record.
Ray Lewis has a funny dance, so he's got to get the record.
Right, Kyle Clifton, he tied his shoes. He put his lunch pail in his hand. He walked to work. He's another one. He played 11, I forget how many years, and he led the league in tackles 6 times. And nothing. He never even got a friggin' Pro Bowl. None. Oh, guys. Listen, Mahitz Tolosi says he had a Mo Lewis poster as a kid. I didn't have a poster. I had a not to me, but signed picture of Mo on the wall. I love Mo. I love him. So, all right, let's see what we got here. You guys are awesome. I want to remind everybody this is the Thursday Thick of It. We are here with Frankie from Flatbush right here in your eyesight. Frankie from Flatbush channel. You can check out his Tuesdays or Tuesday News Day. That's my favorite Frankie show. Not demeaning any of the others, but Tuesday News Day is purely enjoyment and I think is the crown jewel of your catalog currently. Frankie, I love it. You can also check out Jets Chaos. It used to be Jeremy Chaos, and then it was Jeremy Eats a Sandwich, and then it was Cooking with Jeremy, and then it was Jets Chaos with Jeremy.
Hot dogs with Jeremy.
Hot dogs on a Sunday with Jeremy. It was all those things. Now it's Jets Chaos. The Jeremy is still there, though, and that's the good news. If you know and love Jeremy, you can check him out at Jets Chaos. And we also have Watu-K, the president of the Virginia Jets fan club. He is here in his channel, and you'll see him in the chat under the moniker New York Sports Wicker Media. He also runs wicker and macrame classes. If you guys are interested in learning how to macrame and make planters, that's Watu-K. That's your guy. Okay? He does everything.
Fascinating guy.
Yeah. So, Frankie, speaking of Connor Hughes and the Denzel Mims comments, What do you think? Now, look, just like last year when we were saying like, hey, he's not getting cut. Remember all that stuff? Oh, he's going to get cut. He looks like shit. And the whole, we didn't know he had food poisoning yet and all that sort of stuff. I think from my standpoint, while it's great to hear good things, we liked his trainer came out and said great things. He clearly looked ripped and more substantial, and now he's looking good in practice. I think it's fantastic, but what are you thinking about Denzel Mims? I'm feeling like I don't want my pendulum to swing all the way to the other side now. With he's going to be great, we're going to trade Corey Davis or. What do you think this means for Denzel Mims, and are you happy, or what are you making out of all this?
Yeah, I am happy. What I hope is that Coach Boyer will give him a chance on special teams. I don't see any reason why Denzel Mims can't play special teams. So I'm thinking about Denzel Mims as wide receiver 5. The wide receiver 5 has to play specials, and I see no reason why Denzel can't do it. Last year in preseason, he volunteered to do it. They put him out there, and apparently they didn't like him so much. But now he's got his normal physique back and all of that. He's back to being normal Denzel like he's supposed to be. So in this state, I don't see why he can't be, at the very least, a secondary kick returner to Braxton. A lot of times we have 2 people back there. When the ball goes to Braxton, guess what? The other person has to block. And guess what? Denzel Mims can block. So that's a good thing. And then if the ball goes to Denzel on kick returns, he's also a long strider. And that's a good thing for kick returns as opposed to punt returns. And he's fast and he could do that. So I don't see why I see no reason why he can't play on special teams. And if that's the case and Coach Boyer gives him the thumbs up, yep, we can use this guy on specials, then he should be wide receiver 5. And that's the way you do it. And then Jeff Smith, you try to sneak him on the practice squad if you can. He's a long-term developmental guy. I've been taking a look at Jeff Smith. It's Jeff Smith's is not there. There's not a lot to like about Jeff Smith that you can see on tape right now. If you look at him, even in college, he's fast. Okay, he's fast and he's 6 feet tall. That's the scouting report on Jeff Smith. And they used him a lot on jet sweeps, end arounds, and trick plays where he throws the ball because he used a high school quarterback. Those are things he can do. If that's really it, though, he doesn't have a lot of yak ability. He's had a history of drops even in college. And then you watch him when he's been here. Even his special teams grades have not been great from PFF, and there's really no other way to judge the special teams other than the PFF grades, unless you're going to be the super scout scouting the special teams. And so he hasn't done well there. And when he's gotten to play on the offense, he hasn't graded out well, and he's had a lot of drops, and he hasn't impressed at all. So I'm trying to figure out what it is about him that the team is so infatuated with. We keep getting reports from pretty much everybody, including people we trust like Robbie Sabo, that this organization loves Jeff Smith. And I'm trying to figure out what it is about him that they love. Now, maybe he does things in practice that blow your mind. I don't know. But
he
so
does
far,
taxes.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe that's the case. But so far, from what I've seen from Boston College and in the game films and all the grades and everything else I can find about Jeff Smith, it's hard to figure out what it is about him that they're so in love with, except that he did play on special teams. He can play specials, and he has the gadget ability, and he can be an emergency quarterback, and that's nice. But the reality is that if Denzel Mims can play on the special teams, then the way I see it, he's wide receiver 5, and you have an awesome wide receiver room then. I mean, you can use him in so many different ways too. I love the idea, for example, of Denzel Mims in the slot, because if you have a big slot receiver like Denzel, he doesn't have to worry about being the X receiver, because the X receiver is often on the line of scrimmage, almost always on the line of scrimmage. That means he's going to face a lot of man press. That's a little bit of a problem for Denzel because he doesn't have Elijah Moore level elite footwork off the line of scrimmage to beat that. So how do you get around that? You put him in the slot where they're not going to man press him. He gets a little bit of space to get going, and now he's a matchup problem for whoever you try to cover him with. I love that idea. And so I'd love to see the Jets really try to utilize his skill set now that he's really showing what he can be and what his potential is.
I think that's fantastic. I would love to see Denzel Mims in the slot, man. Yeah. Love it.
He played
Go ahead and put your nickel on him.
Slot sometimes.
Yeah, I'm saying more of it. So here's something a lot of guys don't know. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Denzel Mims, we all know last year was disappointing, right? Like nobody's going to say otherwise.
Yep.
Excuse me. But we also know he had food poisoning to such a degree he lost 20 pounds. He's switching over from the Adam Gase offense to the new offense. We now know, and Connor Hughes talked about this a little bit the other night on the After Hours Jets Fest, that the Jets tried that tough love thing with him. He did not respond. And that's the thing. It's the Jets coaches. It's all coaches, really. Their job is to try to identify how to reach all the guys. That's not an easy task. Let's just make sure that we keep that in the conversation. It's not easy, but they tried to tough love him, and it didn't work with him. It's not the way to get him. So we have that whole thing, and then he gets COVID and all that. But the truth is even among all that stuff, he played 279 offensive plays last year. And we only talk about the penalties and the drops he had. He's credited with 2 drops. I think I remember 3, but it is what it is. One of those was a touchdown in the Indianapolis game, which just broke my heart. I'm like, oh, Mims, you know what I mean? I wanted so badly. But he did have some painful drops, but he only is credited with 2 or 3 of them. And he had 5 penalties out of 279 plays. Now, they were glaring, and our focus was on them. But what about the other 200? Look, that's 272 plays. You know what he was doing most of the time is he was blocking his ass off, and he's a very, very effective and willing blocker. Now, Denzel Mims, like when we talk about taking Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson off the field, it doesn't make any sense for a guy like Denzel Mims. I totally understand that. But when you have a down that is going to be a screen pass, or it's going to be a running look, or just a straight up running pass, having Denzel Mims out there is an asset, and probably more so than Elijah Moore. Or I can't speak for Garrett Wilson and how he's going to block in the NFL. But Corey Davis is a good blocker. Braxton Berrios is very willing, but he's not effective in the same way that Denzel Mims is. So there is a role, and trying to look, the idea that we showcase him all preseason and everything, and then trade him, I do get it. And I'm not saying that won't happen, but I think it's unwise because, again, he has rare measurables, right? And now he does have a drive in him right now. And guys, if one player gets hurt, like if Corey Davis goes down, the rest of our wide receivers are 6 foot and under. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like having him there at wide receiver 5, or even, keeping 6 and having him, just have him there in the event that somebody goes down, or, you can use him in very, very deliberate ways. I think is an asset, dude. He's cost nothing for the next 2 years. He is as cheap could be. He's a late second. He's pocket change by comparison to a lot of these other guys. I think it would be unwise to let him go, but that's the thing. We don't remember. He had 272 plays that nobody talks about, Frank.
Well, I'll tell you something else, GreenBean. One of the things that Connor said that was incorrect is he seems to think that Denzel Mims, all he can do is run 9 routes and catch 50-50 balls. That's not in evidence.
A lot of people think that.
A lot of people think that, but if you watch the tape, you see something different. Now he's not the world's greatest route runner. He's not Elijah Moore. Okay, everybody understands. He can improve there. But what you see on film is a lot of times what he was running is either shallow crossers, deep crossers, slants, where his job is to clear out 2 or 3 defenders in an area for another person to get the ball. And he did that very well. Now, when you do that, you don't get any credit. There's no stat for that. There's no clear outs, number of clear outs on the season. Like there's nobody tracks that. But if you watch the film, you see it. And having a big, tall, fast guy attract the attention of 2 or 3 defenders is quite valuable, because it means on the other side, somebody's going to get open or get a one-on-one. So the fact, this idea that all he can do is run straight down the field and catch a 50-50 ball, that's not accurate. It just isn't.
Well, I think a lot of people assume that's the case, and he's not that surgical route runner that other guys are. But
he needs to improve that for sure.
Yeah, but you can. Robbie Anderson. Don't forget. He was strictly a straight arrow. He was a 9 route all day long, and he worked over the course of his 3 or 4 years here. He became a better route runner. He wanted to, and the phrase was expand his route tree. Now, Denzel Mims is already better than Robbie Anderson was at that. If you ever look at Denzel Mims' Senior Bowl tape, dude, he was losing dudes straight up all day. And he has that. Again, he's not Jerry Jeudy. You know what I mean? He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Jamar Chase. At the same time, he's not quite as bad as a lot of people think, but he does have those other assets. And it's our coaching staff's job to be able to use the players that we have. And I think the Jets might be seeing that maybe a different tactic, maybe a different way with Denzel Mims, because he seems to be responding right now. And, just like Bradigan is saying, he says, let's just go with the flow. Mimsy camp just started. Let's just get to preseason and see what happens. I agree with that, Chris. At the same time, it's nice. It's good to hear some positivity. It's just like it was good that Becton decided to show up. He somehow lost 40 pounds in 3 weeks. So, hey, you know what I mean? I'm with that too. Like, wouldn't we rather it be that? Even though Rich Cimini tried to deflate us today and yesterday for that matter, he misquoted Robert Saleh, which in my opinion, look, we heard Rich Cimini is the consummate professional, very, very good at his job. He's been with the Jets beat for 30 years in numerous rags. He was the New York Newsday, the Daily News, and then with ESPN for the last decade or so. So he's a well thought of, reporter, right? Misquoting Saleh doesn't seem like a mistake to me. It seems like it was deliberate. And he said that Saleh claimed that, he said that Saleh's quote was that Denzel Mims' left tackle days are over, Frankie. And actually what Saleh said was he's going to play right tackle, but his left tackle days are not over.
Right.
So it's just where we got him today. It's where we got him right now, and maybe for this season or whatever. But and then today he said that he decided to bring out of nowhere. Denzel Mims looked like he was struggling in practice, and he needed to take a knee. I'm going to tell you, I watched high school practice today. You want to know what the kids were doing? When they had a moment, they took knees. These are high school kids, man. You know what I mean? They were like, they got more energy. But so that's the thing. But so I wanted to ask you, did you see Mekhi Becton's response to Cimini?
Yeah, and I applaud Mekhi Becton for calling him out. I mean, now here's the second example that I'm aware of somebody calling out one of these guys. We had Justin Hardy calling out Country Club Connor about Mekhi and about the 0 reasons tweet. And now here we have Mekhi responding himself and calling Dick Chimney a weirdo for what he said and putting it into the most negative context that you could come up with. I mean, this is not unexpected. Nobody would think negatively about what Becton was doing today. It's totally normal and it's totally fine. And yet Dick Chimney had to find some negativity to tweet about Mekhi. And Mekhi called him out. And good for Mekhi. Call him a weirdo. He is a weirdo.
Right. Like, what's the obsession with me, dude? Yeah. Like, what is it, you weirdo? To me, when I read that, I actually went, huh. Like, I inadvertently and spontaneously chuckled. Like, it was actually
I did too. I was like, good job, Mekhi. Yeah, go get him. Go get him.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and people, and I do prefer when the players don't get into that tit for tat. I prefer it that way. But in this particular instance, good for Mekhi, man. Like, dude, this guy, particularly Rich Cimini, went on like a tirade last year, and he's still continuing. Like, he's like trying to create this view of Mekhi Becton that's just so incredibly negative. And I think Mekhi Becton standing up for himself and just saying, bro, you're weird. What's your deal? I think is the perfect way to handle it. And he should. And I applaud him as well.
Yeah. And you remember when they were at the press conference, and I think it was Connor, maybe not. One of the reporters asked him about why he missed the voluntaries. And he said, dude, I was with my child.
Yeah.
And you know that. And that's the part. Yeah. Like, and you know that. And he looked right at him. And you know that. So he knows that they know that what was going on, and they chose to report opposite anyway. And that's the thing. They know they knew what's going on, and they still want to commit journalistic malfeasance, I call it. But it's really and it's really just a shame. And so, but I do think one thing that Connor said rang true. If the Jets start winning, a lot of this stuff goes away, because I think a lot of them are really just looking for something to talk about. It's hard to talk about, oh, this team stinks again. Like, that's not exactly How many times can you write that story? And so they're looking for they have to have content. Like, these are people who need content. They can't not write something for a month. Like, so
Yeah.
the winning,
And it's a fair point.
It's a fair point. And if they would start winning,
right.
this goes away, because then they can write about all the success stories and this and that, and they'll have a lot more to write about. So one way to look at it is, okay, to cure all of this, let's win. How about winning? Let's try winning.
Let's see what that does. Let's see how that rolls down the street. You know what I mean? Let's see if it catches any shit. So we got a couple questions for you, Frankie, and I'm just gonna let you answer them. Braden from New Zealand, our good buddy, says, what if Mims ends up as wide receiver 4? Would he still be required to play specials? Now, I think this is unlikely because they just paid Berrios, but what if he's wide receiver 4? You think the special teams mandate would still apply?
Well, here's how it works, Braden and everybody, in case you don't know. The first 3 on the roster, there's typically 5 wide receivers that you're going to carry into a game. The first 3 wide receivers are the choice of the offensive coordinator. This is per Saleh. The first 3 wide receivers are the choice of the offensive coordinator. He says, okay, these are my main 3 guys, and they're only going to play offense. That's it. And you designate them. For us this year, it's presumed to be Corey, Elijah, and Garrett. Wide receiver 4 is a combo guy. He's a guy who plays specials and he plays offense. So it has to be an agreement between the offensive coordinator and the special teams coordinator. They come together. They agree this is that combo guy. That's Braxton. He's the perfect guy for that.
Yeah.
And then wide receiver 5 is a special teams coordinator choice. The special teams coordinator chooses who that is, if he wants it to be a wide receiver, but it's almost always, because you need 5, because of injury and such. And who that is selected by Boyer, the special teams coordinator. Now, that doesn't mean that the ball distribution is going to go exactly like that. If you had Denzel Mims as wide receiver 5, based on what they're doing in a game, he may get more targets than Braxton. Doesn't mean Braxton automatically gets more targets than Denzel and all of that. So that's how it works, though. So the wide receiver, that's why Braxton is the perfect wide receiver 4. He does both things adequately well. And then wide receiver 5 is special teams only, but then he can play. Wide receiver 5 can play offense if needed in the game, but the special teams coordinator chooses that player on the roster.
Yeah. Very interesting answer. It's very informative. Now, Dylan from Jetnation just comes in with an interesting nugget. He says, Baylor wide receivers are asked to do very minimal in terms of the route tree, which explains his struggles. And we've heard that, I think that's part of it. Now, I don't think it should be a knock, right? Like every player comes in with some deficiencies, right? Some of these wide receivers can't get 2 feet in, and there's all kinds of stuff like that. So that's an interesting one. And thanks, Dylan, for.
I have a question for Dylan. Does that ring true under Coach Rule the same as it is under Coach Aranda? I don't know. I haven't watched enough Baylor football to know. So Dylan, maybe in the chat you could tell us: is it the same under Coach Aranda as it was under Coach Rule?
Interesting question, Dylan. If you're still there, go. Let us know. Now, our good buddy Dom C from Jetnation, GreenBean, not Jetnation. Dylan's from Jetnation, Frankie, from GreenbeanJetsfan.com. He has a question for you, Frankie. He says, is he quick enough and sharp enough route runner to man the slot? Now, my thought is he's talking about Denzel Mims. So how do you view that?
Yeah, of course he is. I mean, he did it last year. I think he was 30% or so, if memory serves, in the slot. So yeah, in some ways he's even better in the slot because he can get a cleaner release. Denzel, for the most part, is
I don't know what you know what it was? My pinky hit something. I was like doing something. I'm sorry, Frankie. You were still heard. That was me with the. So go on, please. Like, my bad, everybody.
Anyway, Denzel's big problem is his releases. So the solution, so the slot thing is great because he can really get his steps going. He's a long strider. That's the thing we have to keep in mind with Denzel. He's a long strider. So the more room we can get him to get off the line of scrimmage cleanly, the better.
Yeah, excellent. So I saw a comment from a guy. He's been poking us in the ribs for the past few months here. Where the hell did it go? I got to find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Our good buddy, Ravens fan, Aaron Butler, who I see everywhere. If I poke in on any Jets channel, any live stream, Aaron Butler is there. Now, he's a Ravens fan. He's very, very confident Ravens fan. He thinks that there's no way in hell we're going to be able to stop him, as he should. He's a fan, right? So that's his team. And he's got a lot of data to support these ideas of his. But he checks in and says, I must admit, the Jets have better and definitely more robust content than the Ravens. I've seen 4 or 5 high-quality content guys. Impressive. And Aaron, I thank you for that comment. Hopefully we're among that 4 or 5. He's like, I don't like this fucking guy, but the other guys.
Except for you two jokers.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I find Aaron to be at least respectful. He gets huffy, he gets puffy here and there, but generally speaking, he's the kind of fan of the opposite team that you want around. You know what I mean? Like, hold on. He's the kind of fan that you want around because, hey, fans. You know, that's one of my favorite things of growing up being a football fan was I had friends of all different teams and we busted each other's chops. That's what we did. You know what I mean? And we knew about each other's teams and we paid attention. That was the fun of being an NFL fan, was that, you had your friends who were on the opposing side and that made competition and everything else. So this is the internet version of that. So you're always welcome here, Aaron. I just don't want you to get mean. I mean, especially when after week 1.
Well, I mean, when you have a team as bad as we've been for as long as we have been, and then you decide to do content, you better know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
right. It's like it sharpens up your.
There was one guy, maybe Aaron, maybe you can tell me who. I forget his name. I have to go refind it. There was a Ravens guy. He was really good, man, and I dug his stuff, and he was breaking down some tape. I was going to reach out to him and see if he can come on with us. A little closer to the opening day.
Murph Baldwin. What about Murph Baldwin? Murph Baldwin loves the Ravens.
Yeah, well, Murph came on. I don't know if you know that Murph was on one of my shows a while ago.
He told us about Chris Herndon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, he basically told us he's a bum. Essentially, he didn't say that.
Murph knows his shit, man. Murph Baldwin is no joke.
And he loves the Ravens.
Top billing. Is a just such a quality show. But Murph told me way back in the day, he said, you know what? I asked him to come on and he said, you know what? I don't really say yes to this. I don't like to go on other channels, for whatever reason. I don't do that, but I'm going to say yes to you for some reason. That's literally what he said. I don't know why. I'm just going to say yes. I said, awesome. Come on. And he did.
That dude knows what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah. He's, in my opinion, I haven't had a chance to really watch him of late, but he was a guy that I watched, more consistently than others. I thoroughly enjoy not only his information, but like his takes. Like I appreciate his point of view. I respect him a great deal. Yeah, and he's funny, right? Let's see. So Daniel Murphy checking in. He says, I refuse to believe that Adam Gase is better than LaFleur at scheming Mims to be able to make plays. I agree. I think the whole thing.
Let's see this year. Last year was a disaster. Last year was a dumpster fire for Mimsy. Just throw it out. Throw it in the garbage.
Well, and let's not forget, too, that LaFleur was a rook. I mean, he wasn't even Mike LaBooth until week 5. You know what I mean? He was on the field walking around,
And his first exposure to Mimsy is this guy's got food poisoning. He's got the COVID. Who is this guy?
Right.
He lost 25 pounds, 30 pounds. That's his first introduction to Mimsy.
It's right. So
he's seen the real Mims. I mean,
yeah, it's like, so he's 6'3". I'm supposed to give 2 shits.
Yeah, right.
That's LaFleur's take, and then don't forget Mimsy doesn't really fit their prototypical mold for wide receivers. So he's already starting a little bit in the hole with that. He's not a guy. If they were our coaches the year before, more than likely Denzel Mims wouldn't have been our pick. We would have taken one of the other guys at that point. So it's just one of those things. But again, I agree, Daniel. If LaFleur and the Jets can't figure out a way to use a 6'3", 4.38 speed, 50-50 ball winning, like aggressive blocker, if you can't figure out how to use that guy, then we have an issue. You know what I mean? Like there's probably a lot of other limitations floating around. Now, Jets carpetbagger, you came in a little bit late, it looks like. Frankie, did you watch GreenBean's interview with Connor last night? He did, and he already gave us our his opinion of it. But Frankie, anything that you didn't leave, that you didn't say, just so we can kind of accommodate Jets carpetbagger? I do appreciate the super chat.
I think overall, carpetbagger, I thought GreenBean did a wonderful job. First and foremost, I was very impressed by GreenBean. Not to, I know he's right here. I don't want to blow smoke up his butt, but the fact is that he did a wonderful job in a situation that could have, been contentious. And number two, the main point, good job by Connor for coming on, facing the music, apologizing, saying he's sorry, admitting he did wrong. And you got to give a lot of credit for somebody to do that. He could have just ignored GreenBean, and he didn't have to go. He contacted GreenBean and said, listen, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Let's talk about it. And you got to give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
So, and I thought it was a really good interview with lots of insights. If you want, go back and rewatch the live stream when I talk about it in full depth. I don't want to belabor the point, but those are the main things.
Yeah, and thank you. Right. So Jets carpetbagger, I'll just second Frankie's sentiment about I have to give credit where credit was due. This could have been perceived as enemy territory. You know what I mean? Like, obviously he's in the Jets beat world, so he's not like he's timid or afraid or anything like that. But this would be a higher concentration of people that would be on Team GreenBean. So he came over to this side willingly, and he, look, man, we had discussions prior to the show. He told me, don't be afraid to ask me stuff. He said it would be great if we could somehow highlight some of the rift between the fans and the beat. So he and I looked at it as an opportunity to at least discuss. I didn't know his answers or anything like that. We didn't get into specifics. We didn't organize questions or anything like that. But we did discuss. Not like he let me know, don't be afraid, to just because I'm coming on your show, you don't have to be, afraid to ask me that hard stuff. And I thought I did. I tried to be respectful, obviously, because I do appreciate it. But there was a few things I wanted to say, and I was able to get them out. So I'm glad you watched it, Jets carpetbagger. Keep it simple, RC. GreenBean buried the hat with Country Club. When is Frankie going to sit down with Dick Chimney?
These people don't know who I am, RC. I mean, come on. I'm not GreenBean. Yeah. GreenBean's a legend. Let's face it.
Yeah, and Brandon McNeely says, Connor kind of cringed when you said Dick Chimney. He did. He went like, ooh. It seems like they may be buddies. Well, they are. I mean, he was highly complimentary of Rich Cimini, in there. He definitely let us know, Rich gets a bad rap. Now, I said, well, my point of view is that I've known Rich for 30 years, and he's always been this guy. You know what I mean? So now, granted, the Jets are tough. When Rich, one thing I'll give Rich Cimini, when he came on the Jet Lounge that day, I was still in Arizona and I was on, and Rich just popped in. He did say, guys, I want you to know I'm jealous of the reporters that get to go to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I've been covering this team for 30 years. Not one trip. He goes, there are guys that just got on the Bengals beat. He said there was a guy that he brought up that he's been on the Bengals beat for 2 years and he's at the Super Bowl. I'm envious of that. I want to go. So that did give me a little bit of perspective. He's also dealing with this shit too. Now, again, that doesn't remove all of the blame that we place on him for kind of taking the negative road always. He's always on the negative side. Oh, some great catches, but let's not forget he's playing against these guys. He does that stuff. And it's I wish he could kind of, just kind of lose the tude, so to speak. But again, we do have to acknowledge that, his peers get to kind of rub his face in it often. He might be a little bit mad at the Jets for not letting him go to the Super Bowl, even the damn playoffs. You know what I mean? Get little road trips out of the deal. So anyway, there's that. I don't know. We'll work on that though. We'll see if Frankie can get on the horn with Dick Chimney.
Just so everybody knows, nobody contacts me. They might contact GreenBean. They're not dropping in my DMs. I tell you that much.
Yeah. I don't get that much. I'm about to kick it up a little bit. I'm gonna make some efforts. I've been turning over some stones as of late. So hopefully we get some guys on here. I will say our good friend and somebody I respect immensely, Jake Assman's going to come on with us on the 18th, which will be fun. And we also have another guy, very, very good stats guy and very knowledgeable Jets fan. I forget his last name. Forgive me. It's Max. He's on Colts Law with those guys. He's a good NFL guy, but he's a Jets fan. So he's going to come on with us on August 4th as well. So we got some really good shows, but I'd also like to get guys that, a tier above us, you know what I mean? Like, stars. And I would like Mike Westhoff. I like to get that stuff going. Let's see. So Hater Ali, he says, "What's up, brother? I'm about 50 minutes behind. Why hasn't our wonderful media not asked Salah why Sherwood is on the physically unable to perform list? Hamza during OTA, Salah said both have put on weight and muscle." I got to be honest, Holly. I'm just going to come straight out. I didn't see any of that. So Frankie, do you know what he's talking about here? Can you speak on this?
Well, I don't think that Sherwood is on the pup. I'm looking at Twitter right now to make sure I didn't miss something.
I didn't think he was either. Actually, interestingly, when the pup list was announced, people wondered, well, why is Fant and Becton and Lawson on it from their injuries last year, and why is Sherwood not? So there was that conversation. So I don't think he is on the pup list.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And unless something changed, and that's good news. We should be happy about that. So that's one of the things I said in my video, Hater, is that it's great news that Jamian Sherwood not on the pup. That means his rehabilitation went really, really well, and he's 100% and got cleared. So that's a beautiful thing. So, and yeah, they put on weight and muscle. Hamza and Sherwood, yeah, you'd expect them to from college days. They're on the program now. They're with nutritionist Nikki too.
That's right, Nikki the nutritionist.
We should talk about this, Greenbean. We now have the first receipts, the first tangible evidence of some kind of ROI for the Dr. Brad DeWeese team, and it's in the form of nutritionist Nikki, Nicole Mentz. We got to give her a shout out because at least two of the players now have specifically said she is, primarily responsible for, helping me meet my goals with my physique. One was Zach Wilson, and then we heard it from Quinnen. And I think, by the way, it's Quinnen season. It is going to be Quinnen domination season. And the reason I think that is because of what he said in his press conference about nutritionist Nikki getting him squared away. He said it's like you're driving your truck with a boat on the back, and that's how he felt last year. And then this year, after the work he did, the nutrition, the working out, and everything else, now the boat is gone. You think that makes a difference? Trying to get off the line of scrimmage with a boat on your back? Get out of here. So anyway, so we now have at least two players who have said that this person who's part of the DeWeese team, we're getting some ROI from the DeWeese team. This is fantastic news.
I think it is. I could not agree more. I mean, look, if I may, Frankie, I think you and I are really the only people that I see discussing this subject very much. It really is. Like, it's one of the things that when people, even like last year when a lot of people, I think more Jets fans are a little bit more positive toward Joe Douglas now than they were last year, especially during the losing and everything. And which I get, but I disagree with. But I have been talking about, as have you, one of the things I give Joe Douglas immense credit for is the fact that he identified, like, look at all the injuries here. We're number 1 or number 3 on the IR list, the most cap money on injured reserve, and all those kinds of things. He didn't just go, all right, let me get a new doctor, let me get a new trainer. He gutted the entire department and brought in a doctor, Dr. DeWeese, to oversee 4 new doctors and nutritionists, and he went out and got Robert Saleh's trainer, who's also Robert Saleh's get back coach. Like, he dissected and rebuilt the entire program. And now we're talking about medical, we're talking about rehab, we're talking about nutrition, and we're talking about training. The entire area, like that whole facet of the Jets organization was rebuilt. So like, we look at Joe Douglas and go, why aren't you trading for this guy? Why aren't you getting that guy? But there's so much more to the job when you talk about balancing the cap, you talk about managing everything. But out of nowhere, he just said, this is what we're doing. And Dr. DeWeese came in saying things like, we don't want to just, be a good medical department. We want to be what the rest of the NFL emulates. It's going to be that good. Like, that's how groundbreaking what we're going to do. That's what Dr. Deese was saying, guys. So now when you consider that we just did that, last year was their first year together. So Dr. Deweese is overseeing everything. So they all report to the same hub, which was not the case. They all had their own department. So the training department would have to contact the medical department and all. Now it's all under Dr. Deweese. You have one guy. He's the boss of everybody. So they all speak the same language and all that sort of stuff. So when you look at the fact that this is brand new for them, they've never been an NFL staff before. We have to give them time. You know, like people have said to me, why don't they, well, what happened to that vaunted medical staff, Joe? It's like, well, in the same way that we got to realize that Joe Douglas was brand new when he had the 2020 draft. That was his first ever draft. You got to give Robert Saleh, Mike LaFleur, it's their first ever time doing these jobs. We have to consider that in the same way for the medical department and the training department and nutritionists. And now, just like Frankie is saying, we're seeing the return on investment. When Zach came back, it was so noticeable. His body had changed that there were jokes like beefy and stocky and then all these kinds of things that they were busting his chops. And when he was asked about it, what did he say, Frankie? You remember?
Yeah, he said it's because of Nikki.
That's right.
Nikki told me what to do. I said, here's my goals. Here's what I want to do. She said, okay, here's your meal plan. Here's how you do it. And he even went further in one of his interviews, one of his press conferences this week, where he said, yeah, I have certain times when I have to eat certain things. It's very precise. And that was given to him by Nikki. And this person, the ROI from this one person is phenomenal. And then you factor in Quinn in too. So yeah, they're doing wonderful. And it's good to see the ROI, because one of the things we talked about last year is what is going to be the ROI for these people. Is it just the number of people who are injured? Is it the cap dollars that are out? You know, the number of games missed. How are we going to measure their progress? How are we going to know if they're doing good or bad or average? You know, so this is just the first ROI that we're starting to see.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I'll also say, you know, Denzel Mims. You know what I mean? He came back looking totally
Mimsy too.
Right?
Yeah, really.
So there's a lot of this, and this is what we want to see. Like you have to give Joe Douglas the balls. I mean, the credit for having the balls to take all these leaps. Like
and he had to bring that to Woody. Like he had to bring it to the owners and say, this is my plan, guys. Right. Because those 5 doctors, they're not cheap. Like,
no, I bet they're not. No. When we were running a rehab in South Florida, right? And we had it was a 35 patient rehab, and everything. And I was in the room negotiating with doctors, and we were paying $400,000 plus all kinds of other expenses. Yeah, and that's just that.
Yeah. So I mean, these guys are probably $500,000 each. You know, that's $2-3 million. This is probably a $3-4 million operation that Joe Douglas brought to Woody and Christopher and said, I need you to fork over $3-4 million a year for these people. And they're like, what? What is this?
Yeah, why? We already have a doctor.
No, we have a trainer. We have 2 trainers, Joe and Bob. They're fine. What are you talking about? Guys can make their own shakes. What are you talking about?
Right. And that's why, again, like when we bash the owners, and I get it, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, you got to consider that sort of stuff. Like Joe Douglas walked in and said, hey, I'm going to fire Adam Gase, supposedly my best friend. I'm going to get rid of everybody in this place. I'm firing your doctor. I'm firing the trainer. I'm gutting. Here's what I'm doing. It's going to cost you $650 million over the next 2 years. What do you think? You know what I mean? And they go, yeah.
Please sign here. Please approve this plan.
Hey, don't look at this. Just sign. But it's I mean, and they signed off on it. So you got to give that too. And again, like giving a GM time to enact all of these things, I think, is just so important. I mean, there were numerous Jets fans that literally wanted to fire Joe Douglas after his first draft. I mean, like that, fire him, like Adam Gase, like it's clearly Adam Gase and Joe Douglas need to go together. I remember that outcry. It was quite a few people that thought that Joe Douglas should be thrown out with Adam Gase. And again, I just think, aside from Joe Douglas, I think just in general, it's time that we started letting people actually build something here, to be here for a while. Right. Continuity. And that goes for the players You know, people that are, saying we ought to get rid of Denzel Mims or Corey Davis or Bryce Hall. It's like, well, can we let Zach Wilson and the team have people like that they know and they spent the last year, building rapport with? Can we give these guys a minute to build something? Like you can't, hire a contractor to build your house, and 4 days in you walk in and you go, you're fired. You're not even, I have no roof, nothing. Get out. It's like, I'm putting the foundation. I'm digging a hole for your foundation, man. Get out of here. So I think that's really something that's of paramount importance for us. I mean, the Jets have had just so many GMs and coaches over the last, however long. I mean, Rex is the only one we gave any real time. I mean, 6 years. Bowles, you could say 4 years, but during Bowles, he had 3 offensive coordinators. He had, how many quarterbacks? He had McCown, he had Bryce Petty, he had Sam Darnold. I mean, it's just a revolving door of madness. And, again, it's time. Joe Douglas clearly knows the game, clearly, by his return on trades, by his contracts, by his respect around the league, by his work ethic, which we saw in Flight 2022, sitting there for an hour and a half, calling every single NFL team on the board to try to get what he's driven, he's persistent, and everybody loves him. He's respected. Mike McCagnon, they looked at as the guy to take advantage of. Joe Douglas is the guy to work with. He called Seattle. Remember, he wanted to know who they were taking. They were the pick ahead of him. And he came back and he went, Charles Cross, we're getting our boy. It's like, you got to love it. Anyway, the medical thing is a big part of that. I want to say hi to Mindy Adam. Hey, Mindy. It says, Bean, I spoke to Tyson last night and plugged your Connor Hughes interview, plugged Frankie too. You guys are excellent as content providers. Well, thank you, Mindy. I was actually a guest on Let's Talk Jets radio with Tyson last week. I love Tyson, man. He was one of the guys I listened to first. Did you guys know he came from Jetnation too, Frank? Did you know that? Dylan, did you know that? Yeah, Let's Talk Jets radio. Tyson was part of the infancy. I mean, it was like podcast. What cast? Like that's how early Tyson was in the Jetnation podcast world. But yeah, Tyson's OG, man.
That makes sense then. He's built a big audience, and that makes sense as to the origin of it. Yeah.
Yeah. At one point, I would try to listen. I would look for anything Jets. At one point, it was only Let's Talk Jets radio and Jet Zone, our boy Green. That's it. That was who it was. Really? Every now and then you'd have, something, but it was like that was, or you had Eric Allen doing these terrible interviews. Poor Eric. That guy, I don't know. All due respect, Eric Allen. I just don't get it. But, other than that, and then obviously, then Matt O'Leary came out. When I found Matt O'Leary, he was still talking Mets. You know what I mean? I think he had like 800 subs when I found Matt O'Leary. He was like talking Mets, Jets, and everything else. So, but yeah, Tyson's OG, bro. OG for sure. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay. So, Frankie, let me ask you, what else is sticking out in camp for you? What are the stories that are kind of popping out for you?
Well, we're hearing all the right things about Zach. Everything you could want to hear about Zach Wilson is what you're hearing. And it's more about, just the command that he has of the offense, including verbiage and getting things out quicker and learning faster. When he makes a mistake, he doesn't go on a dissertation. He just says, yeah, I know. Safety's left foot on the hash line. I got it. And so everything should go quicker. Everybody's looking at it. Even I did notice today, even Country Club Connor Hughes put out a positive tweet about Breece Hall and how awesome of a run he had that I retweeted. So there's some positive stuff coming out, about some of our guys that we need to perform. So that's good. Other than, the negativity about Mackay, I'm not seeing a lot else negative wise. Everything else seems to be working. We don't have anybody on the PUP anymore. Tevin Coleman's the only one I think still on the NFI. And that's only because he's sick. He has a little sickness. So really, so far, so good with injuries, knock on wood. And everybody seems to be, and I'll tell you what, I love this team. I don't know how many wins we're going to have. I don't know what's going to happen. Every one of them steps up to the podium. I love this team. Michael Carter
Yeah.
might be my favorite Jet. I mean, he is. I don't know if you saw it today, Greenbean. He was comparing the practice habits of Curtis Martin. He was talking about the practice habits of Curtis Martin.
I didn't see that. So expand upon that. Well, what was he saying? Like that's what he's emulating, or what is he doing?
Yeah. I mean, you want to capture the heart of a Jet fan? Be a running back talking about the practice habits of Curtis Martin, and that's your model, and that's what you want to replicate. You want to be as consistent. He was talking about his consistency, and he was saying Curtis Martin had extremely consistent work habits as in practice, and then that turned into consistency in the game throughout an entire game, and then that turned into consistency over multiple games, and then that turned into consistency over the season, and that turned into consistency over multiple seasons, and that turned into a gold jacket. And that's what he's trying to emulate. This kid, I mean, you want to tug on the heartstrings of a Jet fan.
Totally.
I mean, every time Michael Carter opens his mouth, I'm like, I'm rooting so hard for that kid to do well.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I like him more every time I see him speak, whether it's joking or whatever. Did you see? He said, I think who sent it to me? I think Watu sent it to me. He asked the beat, do you guys come up with these questions? Like,
he said, I got a question.
Like, I got a question.
Do you guys think of these things the night before? How funny is that?
It's great. It's great. And that's, look, that's the kind of, like, I would love for that to grow, to expand, like a reality. You know what I mean? Like we have human beings on our Jets team, men that are aware, like not like, with all due respect to Sammy, there was like just a disconnect of, he just said the same shit over and over. It's just, purely, that quarterback speak. It's like pre-written. Well, we got to do this. We got to do that. I liked what I saw. Like it's the same stuff over and over. And there's never any ability to gain anything. I used to, there was a guy on Jetnation I used to talk to, and he said he doesn't even listen to pressers anymore at all because they're literally identical. You learn nothing. But over the past year or so, I feel like that's changing. You look at Michael Clemens and his interview, you know what I mean? And then you look at Mekhi Becton's interview, and you look at Michael Carter. Like there's a shift. Like these are real people. They're actually people, Frankie.
CJ Uzama had another one. I mean, that guy is hysterical. CJ Uzama. You got a smile as big as the Manhattan Bridge, and he's talking about sloppy joes, and he's talking about a Taylor ham and cheese. I forget what he's talking about. Pulled
did he
pork.
Call it Taylor ham, or did he say pork roll?
Yeah, he called it. He said he went into the place and they told him it's Taylor ham. That's what it's called.
Yeah. See, he's up in North Jersey. That's why we don't play games up there.
That's what he was talking about. He was like, yeah, and then in the South they call it pulled pork or whatever it is. And
pork roll. Yeah.
Pork roll. I don't know. I don't know anything about Jersey.
Frankie, when you come into town, and if I'm there, we're gonna go out. Jeremy, I'm gonna get Jeremy one. For sure. I'm gonna spend some time with Jeremy when I'm up there. When you come into town, if I'm there, we are going to go sit down at one of my favorite. I know where to get it too. It's not like you can get it anywhere and it's always good, but I know where to get it. You know what I mean? We'll sit down and we'll have a night. Well, I don't, unless you're vegetarian or something, but we'll sit down and have a nice Taylor ham, egg, and cheese, and just going to blow your doors off, man.
All right.
Yeah,
but he's talking about that. He's talking about sloppy joes. He's what a personality, CJ. And every one of these guys gets up there. And I'm like, I'm so happy these are the people on our team. They're so easy to root for. Every one of them.
Yeah, these are the people in your neighborhood. In your neighborhood.
These are the people who are your tight ends.
Yeah, I know. And how great was the shirt that Uzoma showed up to camp with?
Yeah. What a personality this guy has. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, but that goes along with what we're saying. It's like there's an acknowledgement of reality. Like for so many years, we just didn't have that. There was no connection to anything going on. The only thing we had was Jamal Adams just violently attacking the mascot of the Patriots because he can't beat them on the field. Like that's what we had. It's like there was a kind of like, and with respect to Jamal Adams and his fan interaction, nobody can ever take that from him. He would stay hours signing autographs and all that stuff. But there was just a disconnect. There was nothing there. No substance. These guys We have personality on our team. And the good news is they're talented. And we don't have a guy getting caught inappropriately touching himself in a parking lot in Florham Park. Like, that's the shit. So I'm loving this team as well. Like, look, it boils down to them actually being able to put something together on the football field. We know that.
Absolutely.
We know that. But it's so nice to see, like, when they focus on character, Frankie, we hear this word all the time. They pay attention to character. That's part of it, is having the ability to actually absorb and communicate in a realistic way. And it doesn't necessarily mean the beat, but it's like, people, not robots, not divas, not robots, just guys who have their feet based in reality, hold themselves well, handle themselves appropriately, and know how to interact with the world. I think it goes so far, King Jet checking in. Thank you, King Jet, for the super chat. He says, in both of your opinions, what do we need in run D to be okay? That's a great question, King Jet. What do you think, Frankie?
Well, number one, we need better players than we had last year. Can we get better players? Oh, wait a minute. I think we did. We overhauled almost all of our defense, if you think about it. But to answer more specifically, we need people to be in the wide nine, contain the edge, funnel people toward the middle. Quinn and Williams, JFM, tackle for loss. See you later. Good night. Linebackers need to be in their run fits. We need linebackers who know how to read properly and be in their right run fits based on the read and react. And we need Jordan Whitehead to be in the box. And good thing, he's the second best box safety in all of football. He's going to help out with the run. We didn't have him last year. We had Elijah Riley, a practice squad guy, trying to play the role of Jordan Whitehead. Now, instead of having a practice squad guy, we have a guy who's the second best box safety in all of football, according to PFF. All of that will improve the run D. So all we got to really do is stay healthy and hope the guys do what they are capable of doing.
Yeah, let me just make a note. Look, I love you guys, and of course, I'm all Jets and I'm all us, but leave Aaron Butler alone. He's nice. He's just talking about his team. He's only here because we're playing him week 1. That's it. When week 1's over, when he comes here and has to admit, holy shit, I didn't know you guys were so incredibly dominant and talented. When he has to do that, then he'll be gone, but we're just talking.
Look, the other thing is the Ravens
beating him up, Frankie. They're beating him up good.
Beat up the Ravens fan, but also understand we're the Jets. He has the right to be proud and to think he's going to kill us. What right do we have? We've won 6 games the last 2 years. Ravens have been one of the model franchises in football since their founding, pretty much. So if anybody has a right to be proud and expect to win on week 1, it's the Ravens, guys. It's not us. We don't. Yeah. We hope, we think, we dream, we believe. But if you looked at it in reality, they're going to be favored, and they should be, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. The good news is like there are myriad reasons why we should be excited for that game in particular too. But again, look, and our thoughts aside, he's just here because the Ravens forums are dead, dude. No, we don't realize how great, like how fortunate we are. Like there are times, like before I was GreenBean up here, I was GreenBean on Jets forums, right? And what I would do is I would float around to different NFL teams that we were playing. I remember we were playing Detroit back in the day, and Barry Sanders was doing the retirement dance. And I said, oh, man, you guys are so fortunate to have that guy. And numerous fans said, no, you don't know what it's like. Every year he dangles retirement. We never know what's going on. It's like, so just learning stuff like that. I would always interact with the fans of other teams. Now, sometimes it would get heated. Sometimes it didn't. But when you would go to these forums, 9 times out of 10, there's like 20 comments over the week. You go to a Jetnation hits 1 million posts
that's
a month.
The thing I don't like about it the most. There's so many comments. I'm like, what am I going to say? Somebody probably already said what I'm going to say. Right. There's so much. I'm like, that's my complaint about it. It's like, it's too good, almost like.
Yeah. So we're very fortunate in that regard. Like, you want Jets talk, you could pop into Jetnation at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday in the middle of June, and there's guys there talking Jets. Might be only 20 of them, 10 of them, but they're there. You can talk Jets anytime you want. The rest of the NFL isn't necessarily like that. Like, they're just not us. We are very specific, man. We're very unique. And we are like, it can get frustrating with us because we're also fickle, rambunctious, potentially volatile, but all those things. But the truth is that we're very special. We are a very unique fan base. The only one that has anything on us, maybe not on it, but they could talk, is Philly. They're just, I mean, they're the worst of us all in one package. Like, that's what Philly is.
If we win the Super Bowl, will they have to grease the light poles in New York City?
Grease the light poles. Tell me why. We're going to jump up there and bend them over?
Because that's what they had to do in Philly to keep people off of the light poles. That's how
They
much.
I didn't even know. I never heard of that. They grease the light poles, Frankie?
Yeah, that's how much animals they are. They had to do that. Yeah, 2017.
Amazing. Let me get to King Jet's question just quickly, so I get to it as well. One of the things I'll say is that there's a lot of Jets fans that are like, we lost our best run defender in Foley Fatukasi, and we didn't necessarily replace him. I will say that we had the worst run defense in the league, whatever it was, whatever number we were, with Foley Fatukasi. So
that's a good point.
I don't know how great I liked Foley Fatukasi, don't get me wrong, and he definitely has played well, particularly for a 6th-round pick, right? And we're all fans of Foley, but don't forget, we was right there in the middle for most of the season.
True.
And we were still what we are. The Jets want to run a very specific defense. Now, we don't know if it's going to work here. We don't know. But they want their defensive linemen to go balls to the wall, and they want their cleanup crew to be able to make the tackles. I mean, if you can get, JFM makes a tackle behind in the backfield, great. But they want the Jordan Whiteheads, the CJ Mosleys. That's who they want to, the Quincy Williams. They want those guys to come up and after the mayhem of our defensive line shakes up whatever their plan is and the guy pops out, they want Jordan Whitehead there to clean it up for a 1-yard gain. That's what they want. So we'll see how it goes. Again, the traditional way that we thought it was going to work last year with just a big fat run stuffer in there did not work. Now, why? I don't know. I can't specifically speak to that. It gets a little bit out of my realm. And again, that's the Joe Blewett, the Nannies. That's where those guys they understand it, the dynamics a little bit to a little bit finer degree than I do. Dylan is in that package. Again, they're trying to create a very specific defense, and it was decimated last year. We lost Carl Lawson, we lost Vinny Curry, we lost Ronald Blair, we lost Bryce Huff, we lost Jared Davis. Like the whole thing that they were bringing to the season was gone. They had to makeshift it and just kind of go with, hey, we're going to get all our guys some quality playing time. That's what we're doing. You know what I mean? And hopefully it works. Hopefully it works because I'm not convinced. I'm not. Now, we have the Taylor ham pork roll. You can't mention it, Frankie, without it becoming a thing. You can't. South Jersey.
I admit I don't understand this issue at all.
It's very serious because it's interesting because New Jersey in particular is kind of the only place. If you go to Pennsylvania, the world of Scrapple, you can't go over the border. I mean, once you get past like Stroudsburg, they have no idea what Taylor ham or pork roll even is. You go to Brooklyn or Staten Island, they don't know what the hell pork roll or Taylor ham is. They don't. And if they do, it's only so they can insult you and remind you that you're not in shitty Jersey. Like, that's it. I've been to more than one place, and they say, look, we don't have, that's Jersey. You know what I mean? You want to go back to Jersey. So it's really a Jersey thing in large part, but it's broken down the middle. North Jersey is Taylor ham. South Jersey is pork roll. Now, technically speaking, South Jersey is correct. The product is pork roll. But in the same way that you don't ask your mom for a bandage, you ask her for a Band-Aid. And the same way that when you want to clean your ears, you don't say, hi, do you have a cotton swab? You ask for a Q-tip. Nobody's going to even know what you're – can I have a cotton swab? Like, what are you talking about? Q-tip. Oh, that's what Taylor ham is. Taylor ham is the pork roll. So anybody asking for these, there's 100 different manufacturers of pork roll. They're all garbage. Yeah, except for Trenton makes a good one. Trenton pork roll is good, but guess who owns Trenton? Taylor. Okay, just want you to know. I just want you to know I've done my freaking research on this one. So Taylor ham is the correct way to say it, in the same way that you would ask for a Band-Aid when you're really looking for a bandage. Okay, that's it. Now everybody's right. That's the interesting thing about it. That's why it can be perpetuated so long. It's because we're all right. What do you think of that, Frankie?
Well, that's very exciting. I gotta say, food news. We should have a new segment, food news.
Food news,
starting with Jeremy.
The
Food
Taylor Ham
chaos.
Chronicles. Right.
Food news with chaos with Jeremy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Taylor
Food
Ham with
chaos.
Jeremy.
That's it.
Oh, it's great.
Jeremy sponsored by Pork Roll.
Yeah, look, Aunt Jet's got it. Band-Aid, Q-tip, Taylor Ham. It's exactly correct. What's another product? What's another
Xerox.
one? That you,
Xerox.
What? Xerox. Right. Everybody has a copy machine, but you say Xerox. You know what I mean? Maybe not so much these days. It has kind of broken away. But yeah, anyway, there's so many of those. All right, here he goes. Duncan McLean says salt, pepper, ketchup. I stop it at ketchup, though, Duncan. I go straight up. Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh, you know what? Look what time it is, Frankie. Holy shit. I didn't even know. Kodak is another one. Jeremy put in Kodak. That's another one. Kodak. So I feel like there's a candy too. I don't know. Maybe there's not. M&Ms, right? If there's any little candy coated anything, you go, oh, look, M&Ms. But whenever you see a cake or whatever, they're just throwing those shitty ones on there. They just look like M&Ms. They're M&Ms though. That's what we call them, right? Does Taylor ham taste like Spam? Absolutely not, Brian Paris. It is a completely different substance. It's very unique. Now, you can only go so far. It's still ham, right? But you can only go so far away, but it's a very specific flavor, man. It's only found in that, and it's sold in a burlap sack. It's the weirdest thing. Frankie, it's a burlap bag. It's a burlap tube steak. That's what it is. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Let's see here. So let me just get a couple. I see Dylan's in this one too. Dylan says Jeff Grimes is Baylor's offensive coordinator, Zach's 2020 offensive coordinator, so it will look much different than Rule. He answered your question, Frankie. We're an hour and 15 minutes later, but he didn't forget. What do you think of that?
That's awesome. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, and why Sports Wicker Media says Kleenex,
Kleenex.
not tissues. It's another one. Right. You got to respect the brand. You got to do that. Okay. So let us get to this is a big one real quick. And then we'll bring Watu on for some Jets trivia. Mindy knows exactly. Now, most people, Mindy, won't even know what the hell you're talking about here, but it's very important. I wrote the last couple months, I wrote like 5 articles about I did an article for Crazy Family Adventure website that I write on. I did the whole Jersey Shore, so Wildwood, Seaside, Point Pleasant, Ocean City, and there is a very specific ice cream place there, Frankie. I'm not sure if you're familiar. They did start in Coney Island, but they're largely a Jersey place these days. There's a couple here in Virginia, but Coors. Are you familiar with Core Brothers? Kohr? Core Brothers?
No.
All right. Core Brothers is to the naked eye, it's soft serve ice cream, and they're famous for their orange and vanilla, orange cream swirl, famous for that. But they have sprinkles there that to the naked eye are just sprinkles, but they're called Jimmies. Now, Mindy, to answer your question, my whole life as a kid, we called them Jimmies. That's what they were. But they started at Coors, and the trick is, Frankie, is that they're thinner and longer than most regular sprinkles that you would buy at the supermarket. Like Jimmy's are very specific. And when you get them on, and I order a cone with sprinkles, and then I order a cup of sprinkles so I can dip it in when the first layer of sprinkles is gone, I keep going. I got sprinkles to the end, or Jimmy's. That's what I should say. But anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Mindy. Nobody talks about Jimmy's, Frankie. Are you familiar with Jimmy's at all?
I'm aware of this, but where I grew up in Brooklyn, we call them sprinkles. So but I am aware of this Jimmy's versus sprinkles. Somewhere I picked that up probably when I went down south, Fort Bragg or something. So
right.
We call them sprinkles though, so I don't know.
Yeah, but look, it's in the crowd. Look, Mindy's getting some love here. Ant Jet says, kudos to you. Dom C says, wait, what the hell's a Jimmy? Dom, whenever you go down to the boardwalk, you see the Coors stand right very close to kind of Midway Steakhouse in Seaside. You order a Coors, a vanilla chocolate swirl, or a mint chocolate swirl. It's so good. But you get that, but it's a custard, Frankie. It's not ice cream. They add egg, and it's smoother and thicker. It's amazing. But it's you just say, hey, can I have a cone with Jimmy's? That's where you get them. That's where Jimmy's are found. Jimmy's is a 1950s and 60s thing. It is. But it's really only, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe some other places use Jimmy's, but it's the center of the Jimmy's world is Coors. That's where they still are. So let's skip from the Jimmy's and the Taylor ham, and let's get into some New York Jets trivia with the guy talking about James Morgan in the chat right now. James Morgan, let's bring on our good buddy, New York Sports Wicker Media himself, Watu-K, the president of the Virginia Jets fan club. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Taylor hammers and pork rollers. We are all Jets fans at the end of the day. I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, very well done. Look at him. Frankie, he's bringing in the peace flag. That's what he did. He came in, he let doves go. That's what he did.
Well, I don't know. I think that Watu-K is all jetted up. Look, he's got the Jets hat. He got the Jets thing behind him. He got the Jets map. You're getting all jetted up, Watu-K. What's going on?
It's kind of a theme here. Well, you know, I put the hat on because it's a new era hat, because over these last kind of couple of days, it really does feel like a new era. We're having good days in July. We're having the best July in Jets history. How can we not be thrilled about that?
I don't know. We've had some good Julys, Watu-K. I don't know.
It's a good July. July's an awesome month anyway. I'm not saying that because it's my birthday month. Not saying that at all, but it's just a side benefit.
Well, Watu-K, I'll happy birthday. When is your birthday?
Sunday, matter of fact.
Sunday. Oh, it's still coming.
Yeah,
so July,
coming.
What is that? July 31st? Wow. Wow. So happy birthday. If we don't get to see you, happy birthday to Watu-K, everybody. I'll also let you know, just because we're doing this, I celebrated 12 years sober on the 15th of July. July is my birthday, as we call it as well. So Watu-K, thank you. How old you going to be, buddy?
21. No, I'm actually going to be 41 years old, if you can believe it.
Oh, 40. Yeah. Frankie, he doesn't look 40 and up to me. Doesn't Watu-K look younger?
But I got bad news for you, Watu-K. It's all downhill from here.
Frank,
what do you mean, Frank?
You tend to bring me a lot of bad news, so it's just par for the course.
But what does that mean? What does Frankie know about being 40? He's in his late 20s. What's he talking about?
I've read books. I've read books about it. They said anything after 40, it's like you might as well just accept the slow decline.
I figured as a Jets fan, I should be grayer than I am, but I'm still kind of fooling Mother Nature for a little while longer. Anyway.
Right. There you go. Hey, hold on as long as you can. Like John Cougar, before he was John Mellencamp, said, hold on to 16 as long as you can. Hold on, Watu-K. So there's another one going in here. I want to get your guys' opinion. We'll ask Watu-K as well. Fireflies or lightning bugs, Watu-K? Which one do you call them?
Fireflies.
I like lightning bugs.
Yeah,
I like lightning bugs because one of my favorite sayings is like calling things that are very different, the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. So I really like that. I don't think anybody else really likes it, but I do.
I've never heard that.
Because
I've never heard
realized how powerful and big lightning is. Like, that's the problem with that one. Lightning's very powerful.
Yeah, it really is. You ever 100 feet from a lightning strike?
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Yep.
Dude, it's unbelievable. You're like, whoa! It's like it shakes your soul. You know, you're like it's. Yeah, you realize I'm nothing.
We get some storms here, where we live, GreenBean. You know this. The Mid-Atlantic, you feel like it's Armageddon for like 30 minutes. When it rains here in the summertime, it'll only rain for about 20 to 30 minutes. But during that time, it's like a tsunami. You feel like half the eastern seaboard is going to get wiped out. Next thing you know, it stops, and it's even hotter than it was before the rain even started. That's the typical rainstorm in Virginia, North Carolina, whole thing.
Well, you know what's funny? I lived in Florida for 15 years. Florida has the most lightning deaths as well as the most coconut deaths in the country, falling coconuts. Which is true.
It's because of all the Florida man people.
Right, they're throwing coconuts.
You put the lightning in the coconut, call me in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. You put the lightning in the coconut. But so Florida, I used to live on the beach in a town called Surfside, which is really just an extension of Miami Beach. It's just right north of Miami. But our apartment, our condo was literally on the beach. So our balcony opened to the ocean. Beautiful. But there were lightning storms over the ocean. Now, why? I don't know. But there would be intense, like ribbons of lightning over the sky with no thunder. None. How can that be? What is that, Y2K?
I do research and trivia, but I haven't done it on meteorology yet. I'll have to give you an answer on that next week. Yeah. I mean, I'm used to seeing the lightning. I have seen the lightning before the thunder. This sounds like a song or something.
Yeah,
like that.
it's just weird. I mean, I would stare at it for hours and just be like, everybody, which I don't know what it is. It's right there. But
yeah,
no
you'll
thunder.
see like lightning circling around you, but the sky changes so quickly, and it's like it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain. It's like, but it passes right by. I mean, it's very spotty. It's just so strange how the summer weather is different than it is any other time of the year.
Yeah, it really is. Aaron Butler, he says in Baltimore it sprinkles, but here's one for you, Aaron. What about burger cookies in Baltimore? That's the big Baltimore thing. Burger cookies and chipped beef, I think it is. Some shit like that. A chipped beef.
Pit beef. Pit beef.
Thank you.
Oh, Chaps pit beef.
Pit beef is good.
Unbelievable.
You ever had a burger cookie, Y2K?
I don't think so. So what? I think I've seen them. So what's in those cookies now?
It's just a really dry, like cakey cookie, a little bit thick, but it's like 2 tablespoons of straight up chocolate icing smeared on the top. That's like this thick.
Yeah, I can't eat chocolate, so I'm out on that one.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So Pete DeTraglia's birthday is Saturday as well. Happy birthday, Pete. And Mitt Flair can happy birthday. Exactly. Yeah. People giving you the happy birthday in here. Sean McAteer, Y2K. A lot of people.
And if you're saying happy birthday to me, say happy birthday to Braden too. Braden in New Zealand and I share the same birthday.
Happy birthday, Braden.
Yeah.
What a wonderful thing. Michael LaMountain turned 60 on July 8th. There's a lot of us. A lot of July babies here. There he is, Braden. So okay.
Yeah, now, when it's cold out, you got nothing to do. I mean, that's why we pop out 9 months later.
There you go. Everybody had something to do those nights.
That's right.
So Dark Soldier, my good friend here, he says July 19th was 4 years sober for him. So good for you, Dark Soldier. We love it. Congratulations, my friend. It's not easy. It's not easy. People, they just, oh, that's good. It is not. I'll tell you what, harder than 12 years is 30 days. That's hard. 30 days. It took me 4 years to get my first 30 days. 4 years. So anyway, but congrats, Dark Soldier. Let's see what we got here. We'll get to this. RJ McPot says some refer to cruiser bikes as Harleys. What do you guys know about that? You talking about like those beach cruiser bikes with the big wide tires, Frankie? Is that what he's talking about?
I think he's talking about things we think of as Harley Davidsons. There are probably there are probably other motorcycles that look like Harley Davidsons, but are more broadly cruiser bikes, but are made by other manufacturers.
Right. Like Honda has a bike, but people just call it a Harley.
Right.
Harley, yeah.
I get it. Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're correct. Let's see. All right. Mikey Mal's bringing us back, and we'll get to your trivia, I promise, Y2K. But he says, reminding us today is a day for celebration. Kwon. That's right. Don't forget, Jets fans. The New York Jets, in their wisdom, decided to bring on a Robert Saleh ally and longtime professional linebacker, Kwon Alexander. I think it is a slam dunk move. I love it. It makes me happy, in my opinion. And I know Y2K and Frankie, I think maybe not Frankie, but we share the idea that the Jets we thought they were going to address linebacker in the offseason, and they didn't. So this is really good for me and shows patience. Joe Douglas never sleeps. He's just waiting. Frankie was the one saying he thinks the Jets are happy with their linebackers. So
Well, I
think he
still
was
think
right.
that, but I think Kwon came in at a price we liked, and that's what's also beautiful. I'm waiting on seeing the contract, but I think he came in basically as a Marcel Harris upgrade, which means that he probably got $2-3 million. So the problem I had with Kwon, I thought he wanted 5, 6, 7, and we weren't gonna. I don't think we were gonna pay him that. We'll see what happened. We don't know yet, but I think he came in for the price we liked, and then we said, okay, great, that's an upgrade.
He did everything that I saw. Said I don't remember who the reporter was, but they said the Jets were waiting for Kwon Alexander to accept that price, and that's what
There it
happened.
is.
So
See,
we'll find out what the exact number was. But,
Hey,
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to learn they did the same thing with Riley Rife.
Oh yeah,
They were
but
like,
then he got a $10-12 million offer. And, he was like, no, thank you, Jets.
Yeah, he said, this is why I waited, New York Jets. He probably called Joe Douglas and said, remember when you told me I wasn't going to get more than 4.2? Happy birthday, Joe Douglas. So, hey, good for Riley Rife, right? Good for him. $12 million. I mean, he's worth it. I mean, he's a quality starting tackle, man. And let me tell you something. The Chicago Bears needed it. So this is very good for them.
Fields. But there's breaking news.
Let's do it.
Not about the Jets.
Oh.
But the Arizona Cardinals have removed the controversial independent study clause from quarterback Kyler Murray's contract, sources say. That is really interesting because that was one of the more interesting news pieces I've seen in a while about this independent study clause, and now they've taken it out.
But now, Frankie, let's talk shop here for a minute. Number one, I got a two-part question for you, and then I'd like to get Y2K's thoughts depending on the length of Frankie's answer. Two-part question. Number one, what'd you think of that clause? What was your first opinion? Well, and then part B is why do you think they removed it? So part one, what was your initial thoughts to that clause? And if you guys don't know what it is, the Kyler Murray contract had a clause in it that he is mandated to do 4 hours a week of independent film study. So Frankie, what does that tell you? And then why did they take it out?
It tells me a lot of stuff. The first thing that went through my brain is, what is Eric Burkhardt thinking? What is this idiot of an agent that we've talked about before? This is Marcus May's agent and Kyler Murray's agent and Cliff Kingsbury's agent and other people's agents. What in God's name is he thinking to have this in a contract and agree to it? And he lets his client sign the contract? Are you out of your freaking mind? How dumb do you have to be? This might be the worst NFL agent of them all. But nonetheless, then you think about it from the club side. Obviously, there was a problem with Kyler Murray in film study. Kyler Murray can deny it all he wants. He can come up and say it's ridiculous for you guys to talk about it. Meanwhile, it was important enough for the club to put it in there. It was agreeable enough for Burkhardt to say, go ahead and sign it, Kyler. And you, Kyler, signed it.
Right.
You knew it was in there and you signed it. And then you're mad at the media for reporting on it? Sorry, that's not on the media. That's on Burkhardt and the club and Kyler. That's who it's on because that's who put it in there. So it's weird. It was interesting. And it meant that obviously he wasn't doing enough film study. I mean, that's what it comes down to. There's no reason for it to be in there if he was a film study maven like a lot of people. So he had to have been slacking off with his film study. Otherwise, there would have been no reason to put it in there at all. And
agreed wholeheartedly, Frankie. Just so I want to make sure we don't leave. Dude, that speaks volumes about what's really going on in the clubhouse. Okay. And that speaks louder than any press conference could ever speak. They put it in the contract. They thought it was important enough to include that at the risk of all the bad press. So Frankie, now why'd they take it out?
Now, I think there was enough backlash. Obviously, Murray was upset about it. He had a press conference and he got all upset and he listed all of his accomplishments. And by the way, if you're ever at a press conference listing out your life accomplishments, it's probably not a good press conference. You really, listing out, your high school record and your college things that you've done in the pros and everything. We all understand Kyler Murray's an excellent player, but so there was a lot of backlash. People were talking about it. Media people, PFT, people were making fun of it. I saw a funny video from think his name is Tom Grossi, the Packers fan who makes comedic football videos, which are very funny.
Oh yeah, Tom Grossi.
Grossi.
That's the guy.
The Grossi Posse. Yeah.
Yeah,
the guy that GreenBean wouldn't talk to. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it seemed like bots. There was like 100 people. They just bombarded our Jetnation stream. They gave me probably like $100 in super chats, and I banned every one of them. I turned all their super chats down.
Why?
Because I didn't know what it was. I said, get the fuck out of here. What is this?
I think the guy's funny.
Just so brutal.
Yeah, real quick. When you watch the stream, Jeremy actually did the research and showed me. But the guy was looking for a stream to bombard and raid, and he goes, "Oh, look at this guy with the epic beard. Let's raid him." And then they came back to the epic beard guy. Not so good.
Yeah, let's see if Tom will have you on before the Jets Packers game this year. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Right. I should reach out to him.
Should reach out to him anyway. Just as
he seems
maybe
like a
bury
good
the
guy.
hatchet. Yeah,
It seems it seems actually kind, but it's fun. But again, my point that day was like, who asked you? Like, maybe you should check with me. Fucking raid my stream, especially when I'm old and don't know what the hell's going on.
Anyway, so he put out a comedic video about it, and I think the backlash was so much that everybody involved realized, oh crap, this was maybe the worst idea of all time in contract negotiations by everybody involved, the club, the player, and the agent. It's craziness.
Yeah. So real quick, before I'll get your thoughts, I want to say happy birthday to Dom C's wife, 41 years old tomorrow, 41 years young, Dom. You got to say it the right way when bringing in the fairer sex. So congratulations. Happy birthday to your lovely wife. We also have Jets Fuel turned 30 on Sunday. This is a big one for you, Jets Fuel. 30 years old, that's when it all starts to change. Everything. You start to get, changes are going to happen to your body. You're going to see hair in places. Oh, wait, that's like 12. All right, forget it. You're good, Jets Fuel. So, yeah, we got lots of birthdays in July. This is super cool. So anything, do you agree with Frankie Y2K? What do you see? Or is there another point you'd like to make on that one?
So the contract, it was $230.5 million with $105 million guaranteed at signing. If you are so unsure about this player's work ethic, why are you giving him that much money guaranteed? Never mind the total amount of the contract, which is more than twice that amount of money. But I'm thinking about these types of studies, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this sounds like Michael Nanny's dream contract right here. 4 hours of film study. Where do I sign up for that? And can you imagine the best player who would have had this clause would have been Jamarcus Russell. Maybe the Raiders needed to put that in his contract. Oh. If you know that story with the blank DVD that they gave him.
Go ahead and say the story, just so for the people who don't know it, quickly say the story, because Jamarcus Russell snuck in before the 2011 CBA changed the rookie wage scale. First round picks could hold out for hundreds of millions of dollars if they wanted to. So there was no limit to what they could do. So Jamarcus Russell actually fell into that time frame and held out a little bit and got a massive contract. But then some issues arose. And Y2K, if you wouldn't mind, tell the one story, the good one.
Yeah, so I believe it was his offensive coordinator. They gave him a DVD of some plays. Said, "Hey, Jamarcus, here's a DVD. There's some different plays on that. Look through these. Let us know which one of these you're comfortable with. We'll run those in the next game." He comes back the next day and say, "Hey, Jamarcus, what did you think of the DVD?" "Oh, it was great, man. It was great. It was really great." "Well, which plays would you like to do?" "Oh, all of them. Any of them. I'm ready for all of them." The DVD was blank. It had nothing on it.
It was a blank DVD.
A blank freaking DVD. He didn't even bother to put it in the machine. By the way, that was a DVD is something you used to put in the machine. To watch
right. Don't forget that.
For those of you just turning 30, for those of you who don't know.
But yeah, it wasn't a VHS tape.
Yeah, VHS, Betamax. Oh my gosh.
It looks like this. This is even a newer. This is like an attempt to still be relevant. Look how little and just plugs into your USB and you can still watch DVDs, please.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's pretty good.
All right. So Y2K, go on. That's one of the best stories ever. It's unbelievable. And Jamarcus Russell gained, didn't he? He was almost 300 pounds as a quarterback. This is crazy, dude. Crazy.
He made Jared Lorenzen look like he was in shape by comparison. It was sad.
Right.
All right.
So,
ready for some trivia?
Not quite yet. We're gonna get to this super chat. I hope you're okay, right? You're okay. So Michael Elias, thank you for the super chat checking. He says, "Hey, GreenBean, can you tell us the story? It's story time, Frankie. Can you tell us the story of what exactly happened with Connor? Because I can't find the tweets." Well, an interesting place to look would be a couple weeks ago. Frankie had a Tuesday News Day, did an excellent job dissecting the whole thing. But all it was, I want you guys to know, as much as I bust balls and as critical as I am of the beat, unabashedly, like I don't remove anything I've ever said, anything like, I did not think that was all that bad. I just retweet when we heard that Connor Hughes was moving, that he was no longer going to be with the Athletic. I just said, I put a tweet out there and I said, guys, don't worry. We're not missing much, kind of a thing. And I said, hopefully he'll go cover golf. But I retweeted one of his tweets that had a bunch of incorrect stuff on it, who we were going to pick in the first round and all that. And number one, I had like a 50-50 with fans. A lot of fans said, over the line. I was like, what? What the fuck are you talking? I thought it was so like benign. And but it caused a little bit of an uproar. DJ the Enemy chimed in defense of Connor Hughes and said that I was jealous and I wanted his job and all kinds of stuff like that. And then Connor Hughes, who we found out later had written a bunch of tweets but never sent them, mentioned it on the Can't Wait podcast and just said that I pissed him off and that I was slapdick and stuff like that. Now, we were live when that was happening, so we didn't respond. We just heard we were talking about it. And that night, I went to I started making all kinds of fun stuff, like clipping his comments and putting them to beats. I was going to make a little song and I was going to have just days of fun with it. And that night, he reached out and we had a conversation. So he just said, like, hey, man, my bad. And I just happened to touch a nerve. That was already a sore spot. So I didn't know that. I just grabbed it randomly. You know what I mean? I said, look at this one. So anyway, I like the direction that it went. I prefer the direction that it went. It could have been a lot of fun. I even said that to him. I said, oh man, I wanted to do a whole bunch of shit. I wanted to make fun of you and bust your balls. And so that's when I said, but okay, I won't do that if you come on the show. And he said, absolutely, I'll come on the show. So that's the whole story. And there's really nothing more than that. It was just, I think, a couple moments of wish some things people wish they could take back, and we made good out of it. So, and I appreciated it. And everybody can feel how they want to feel. I'm still critical of the beat. I'm still critical of everything, but I will say I learned a few things through that conversation that do change my perspective, and I appreciate that. I love a good perspective shift. Now I want to point real quick. I'll get to you. Well, that was Michael Elias. Thank you. Mo Dean, listen to this. He's saying to Aaron Butler, our resident Ravens fan, if the Jets beat the Ravens, you have to shave your head. Mo Dean's going right for it. Now, we don't even know if Aaron Butler's head is shaved.
But then what is Mo Dean going to do in return? You can't just tell somebody, hey,
Mo Dean buys a Zach Wilson jersey. That's what happens.
Mo Dean has to be positive. Mo Dean has to say only positive comments about the Jets for a year.
Yeah, he's got to make Aaron Butler a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich. And
Frankie, the first 30 days are the hardest.
Right. Yes. Well, there you go. So that's a good point, though, Frankie. Right, Mo Dean, you can't do that without what the other side of it is. But anyway, I have the sneaking suspicion Aaron Butler's already got a shaved head. That's what we'll find out with this kind of thing. So, all right, we have some more comments. We can hang out and have a good time. But I do want to get to the trivia. Now, this will be the first trivia in this season of the Thursday Thick of It. I'm calling this, Frankie, because we took the break. Season 2. What do you think? This is episode 1 of season 2 of the Thursday Thick of It. What do you think? You like it?
Yeah. I didn't know about it. We have seasons. There's seasons. There's structure. There's something. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we got renewed. What can I say?
Yeah, right. We got renewed. My contract is only good to the end of this, so we got to show up.
Yeah,
this year.
Team GreenBean has to negotiate with YouTube and whatnot.
Right. Right. So that's the thing. Who knew we were going to, I said, it's an opportunity because I listen to these other podcasts and they take, they go, this is season 15. I'm like, maybe I have a season. There you go. Because I was just running. I don't know I never stopped. So there we go. Episode 1, season 2. This is our first Jets trivia. Let's see how we do. Guys in the chat, remember the rules. We do not go to Google. We try to see if we have the answer. Obviously, we can't prove it. It's an honor system. But let's try to see if we can actually start to get some of these questions right and stop this onslaught of incorrectness Watch-UK brings to the forefront of our life every Thursday. So let's see. Watch-UK, what do you got?
And you know what? Now that it's the beginning of a season, we can actually track, or I could track how many questions are correct. So now we're going to be specific on this. Okay.
Fantastic.
So, Frankie, I know how much you love it when I pull out a 1960s, like a Titans era question. Well, this will not be one of those. So we're going to go back to last season. So everybody's invited to play this week.
Excellent.
Okay? Yes. All right. So here we go. Here's your question. In 2021, there were, count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 New York Jets who caught a touchdown.
I'm sorry. Say it again. I'm sorry. My bad.
Okay.
Please.
In 2021, there were 9 New York Jets who caught a touchdown. Your job, name those 9 New York Jets.
Moore, Davis.
Well, Frankie, there's a good way to start with who didn't. That's Denzel Mims.
Ding, ding, ding.
Jeff Smith.
Very good.
DJ Montgomery, who was just cut. He didn't say ding. I'm starting to think maybe DJ Montgomery caught a damn touchdown pass, Frankie.
No, he did not.
All right, so guys, what do we got? We got
that's right. You know what? In reality, it was actually 10. Yeah, it's actually 10. Now that
Ryan Jett got one, and we know it's true. That's Connor McDermott.
Yes,
the left tackle turned tight end, turned sticky hands McGee, caught that beautiful touchdown. So we got one, Frankie. I'm going to go ahead and say. Corey Davis, remember that was the one, at least the one Zach Wilson sent them down the sideline.
And I'll tell you this, Elijah Moore and Corey Davis were the only Jets who caught more than 2 touchdowns for the whole season.
Interesting. That's how good we are. So we also have Ty Johnson.
Yep. Ty Johnson caught 2.
Nice. B-Trav's got a good answer. Mike White.
That's the good. Yep. Yeah, Mike White and Connor McDermott were kind of the toughest ones to get. But
those were
a touchdown or a 2-point conversion, though. I thought that was a 2.
Ooh.
Wasn't that a 2-point conversion?
Was it a touchdown?
Nah, it was a tutty.
Frankie says it's a touch.
It's touch. Okay, fine.
Mitt Flair says effing Berrios.
Yeah,
Berrios, absolutely.
Crowder.
Or Michael Elias is just hitting it. He says Davis, Carter. So we got Michael Carter.
Michael Carter is not correct.
There you go. Michael Elias. Sorry, buddy. Ryan Jett says Elijah Moore.
Did Jamison Crowder catch one? Yeah, you had to, right?
Yeah. Crowder caught 2.
And we're forgetting Ryan Griffin. He caught one for sure.
Ryan Griffin caught 2.
Slaugo has a good one. He says, don't forget about Keelan Cole.
End of the season. Last touchdown of the season.
Oh, really? I didn't. Okay, very nice.
I got 9.
That was the one against Buffalo, that catch and run down the sideline against Buffalo. And then there's one more. I think he was mentioned in the chat. There's one more. Yeah, he was mentioned in the chat.
Was it Michael Carter? Did not, you said, right?
Correct.
Oh, Tyler Croft.
Tyler Croft caught 1 touchdown. That's it. You got it.
Yeah. Guys, we did it.
Good job.
We did it. And here in celebration...
Frankie's Facts.
There you go. All right.
You want Frankie's fact?
Yeah. I want some Frankie's facts. Go ahead.
We can talk about the latest polling. We got polling results. We put out a poll today on my YouTube channel.
Okay, wait, Frankie. I do want that, but let's at least wrap this with a bow. Let's put a bow on this. Guys in the chat, congratulations. We started season 2 of the Thursday Thick of It 1-0 versus Y2K. So this is pretty good. We were getting slaughtered the whole rest of the last season. So this is a good way to start, isn't it, Y2K? You know, it's not necessarily.
It's a new season. I want it to be a question that was, reasonable, before we go to the heavy artillery. So yeah. Good.
Right. So good guesses, man. Good guesses. Well, Snowball saying Kenny Yeboah. He caught one in the preseason. Yep. Snowball.
Right.
I think 2 in the preseason.
Yeah, that's right.
That one he caught against Philly. I think that tie. I don't know if it did tie the game.
Won the game.
That finishes a tie. James
Morgan's elite moment of a bomb.
That's right.
It's funny. If you asked me who threw the pass, I wouldn't have even known. I just knew Yeboah caught it.
Again, amazing. Somebody, I got a DM immediately. I forget who it was. It was hilarious. Literally said, "That's our future." James Morgan, Kenny Yeboah. I was like,
yeah.
Hopefully I'm a big Yeboah fan. I'm big. You guys know I was screaming his name the whole draft.
You were.
James Morgan, I was not. I was very upset by that pick, actually. Very upset. And he's clearly not our future. So yeah, he's at a Hail Mary. How can you forget the Hail Morgan, right? Iowan Jets. Hey, Iowan Jets is here. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. I haven't seen you up until this point. So nice. I'm glad you're here. Jets Mess is here too. What's up, buddy? He says the answer is Lee Cravat. Did Lee Cravat catch one?
It's always Lee Cravat. The answer to
it is. Yeah. All right. So let's do it. Hey, hold on, Frankie. Let's do this right. Let's do our segment. Wait, let me get this off. Hold on. Let's do our segment.
Frankie's Facts.
All right, so
I'm just kidding.
The fact today comes from a poll we're running. We got 129 votes in of presumably Jet fans. And the question is, what kind of impact will Kwon Alexander have on this defense? And the responses are huge, big, okay, not much, or nada.
Okay, I love it. Let's go.
Out of 129 votes, 47% of respondents believe his impact will be big. Coming in second place, well, it's actually a second place tie at 26%, huge and okay. But not much and nada. 0% for nada. So everybody who's voted thought he would have an impact.
Wow.
Nada got nada. Okay.
Nada got nada thing.
Yeah, and not much, only 2%. So basically, almost all the respondents of 129 votes think he's going to have an okay impact or more. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. And what's even more interesting is that if the poll was held here, Frankie, we would have had at least 0 impact from Greenheart himself, Jets Forever. Coming right in. None.
Nothing. He's going to break his leg tomorrow.
With nothing. Good day, sir.
Right. Good day, sir.
You shall enjoy it.
So Joe Valente says not much as well. That's interesting. I can't let me say this. Even if Kwon Alexander is on the bench, okay, even if, and he's kind of there to be in the linebacker room, be a vet that's been in this defense for a few years, worked with Saleh before, helping Sherwood and Nazrul Dean and even Quincy Williams for that matter. If he can be a part of that, I still think the impact would be more than not much, even if it's not on the field, which obviously I think it will be. But I think even just that alone, I'm glad he's on the team. That's what I think.
I'd agree with that.
Hey, talking Jets with Tigo in the house. What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. It's nice to have Tigo here always. Iowan recognizing that as well. So this is good. Look at all these guys. So we got a whole different crew that showed up. Where were you guys? Wait a minute. What show were you watching, you sons of biatches? Where were they?
I bet a lot of people went live, right? Because we signed Kwon, probably a lot of people went live.
I bet.
It was crazy. Like Buffalo went live, Jeremy went live like 10 minutes later. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, everybody just broke right out and went live.
That's why I didn't.
I put out a video. And it's
good.
Seems to be number one.
And we should. Hawk says Javelin Guidry caught one. No, you're remembering that backwards. Guidry gave up one. That's what he did. He gave up two. One didn't count, so they did it again on the next play. Jeff Ulbrich in his ultimate wisdom decided he didn't see that as an opportunity to correct himself. He said, I'm staying. Let's do it again. And they burned us on it. So that's it. I don't know. I have to admit, guys, I'm a little freaked out by Jeff Ulbrich. Like, he came out last season. We were very high on him the first few weeks while the offense sputtered. The defense looked good. You can't take that away. We looked good. We looked competent, aggressive. But after that, like seemingly as soon as they kind of said, oh, this is what they're doing, the whole NFL had the book on it, and he was unable or unwilling, whatever the reason, to adjust and correct in any way, shape, or form what that defense looked like. And, look, Saleh says they had their reasons. It's not the scheme. But I worry about Ulbrich. What do you think, Y2K? Do you feel the same way? Or
I don't know what adjustments there really were to make. You could have substituted certain players, but how good were the backups? And we know what the injuries were, and I hate to use injuries as a quote-unquote excuse, but we know the players that were injured. Basically, half the defense was out for most of the year. We know what happened. I kind of feel about Jeff Ulbrich the same way that I did about Mekhi Becton for the last 2 months. I'm hearing all the talk. Let's see what happens when he actually shows up. Now Becton has showed up, and 99% of Jets fans are really excited on how he looks. Now that Ulbrich has, let's think about it, several new defensive ends, has at least one new defensive tackle. Now he has the new linebacker that we've wanted. 2 new cornerbacks, a new safety, and another safety coming back who played like 10 plays last season. Now we're going to see what this defense can really do. So I think Jeff Ulbrich is a defensive coordinator who is not going to get the most out of a bad defense, but if he has good players, they're going to make him look good. So to me, I don't think he's much of a difference maker. I think it's about – in this case, it's about the players.
Yeah.
Joe Valente wants Greg Williams. What do you think, Frankie?
No, I don't want Greg Williams, but we could
sailed.
And no, thank you. But I think we could judge Coach Ulbrich after this year. I don't think it's fair in year one with no players and guys named Freedom and Elijah Riley and all these guys that we're trying to plug in there. Now we actually have a professional defense. I mean, we have players with talent. If we can't get it done with this crew, then you got to put Ulbrich under the microscope. This is a group of talented players that if we're not a top 15, 16, something like that or better, then you go to Ulbrich, because you can't really judge a guy when he just has no talent. I mean, I think he did the best he could. So this is the year. This is the year to really judge him, in my opinion.
It's a fair point. Like I said, I'm not necessarily saying that I don't believe in him. I'm just saying I'm a little freaked out. And I like just in that particular play, like Y2K, what adjustments could you make? And like I think you're kind of adding to that, Frankie. There were certainly limitations, but again, when they put Javelin Guidry in on the outside, in my opinion, he's not an outside cornerback. Period. They seem to think he is. They gave it a shot. Diggs burned his ass, and it's a little bit out of bounds. That was an opportunity to say, hey, take Isaiah Dunn, put somebody that's an outside cornerback, and switch it. You were given a gift. So there was an adjustment that could be made there, and they didn't. Now, if they know this season's a wash, and they're just like, hey, man, fucking we're throwing you the fire. Come on, make good. I do appreciate that. I have to admit, I get it. When you know this season is a wash, you're just getting your boys their playing time, and if that means getting burned, then that means getting burned. You learn just as much from the negatives as you do the positives. I do understand it. Again, I find it difficult to be confident in him. I think what you said, Frankie, after this year, we'll have a better feeling of Ulbrich. I think that's an accurate point. And Ryan, just to be sure that I call it both ways, you guys know I'm not the biggest Javelin Guidry fan out there, but you got to give credit where it's due. That one tackle on Derrick Henry was a solo open field tackle by little tiny Javelin Guidry, and it was beautiful. And it changed it saved the game. It really did. If it wasn't a touchdown, it was going to definitely be a big gainer and certainly a first down. And Javelin Guidry all by himself flew in and grabbed him by the ankles, and it was a perfect tackle. And just because I'm not a fan of his, like a lot of others are, doesn't mean I'm rooting against him. I'm rooting for him, and I cheered that damn tackle. Let me tell you, But anyway, so it's going to be interesting.
One thing I'd say about this defense too. I think when we had Rex's defense, it was very scheme oriented. It was about creating confusion, giving all kinds of looks, throwing the offense off its game. That's what they did so well against the New England playoff game. This defense to me is very player oriented. There's not much confusion. There's not a whole lot of blitzing. There's a lot less. It's about the front four, beat the hell out of whoever's in front of you, and let the back seven do their job. If you have the players, the defense will work. If you don't have the players, you will suck. And I think that reflected on Ulbrich last season. That's all.
Yeah, especially in his rookie year. You know what I mean? Like Jeff Ulbrich, he did have that interim stint in Atlanta as the defensive coordinator, but he wasn't the defensive coordinator. He just finished the season as the interim defensive coordinator. So this is his first job as the defensive coordinator. And he was a rookie. Like, look, when you look at Saleh, he was a rookie. You look at Zach, he was a rookie. You look at, obviously LaFleur, he's a rookie. So you got to add Ulbrich to that. Dr. DeWeese, right? These were rookies, man. We had a whole bunch of rookies out there. So you got to give him that. Now, Jets Mess is saying he's a walk-in injury. I have to disagree. I'm not going to say he has not been injured, but if you look over his years, and I'm not going to pretend to be a Kwon Alexander expert. I obviously know who he was or who he is, and I've seen him play numerous times, but he does get on an average. There was like a 3-year stint with less, but he gets around 12 games for you. So as far as the Jets go, like Jets Mess says, we would hate him because of all the injuries. I mean, as far as by our standards, 12 is pretty damn good. You know what I mean? So if he's not a full-time starter, maybe we can squeeze 15 games out of him. I think that'd be fine for what we're looking for right now. But anyway, I think it's a little bit overblown. What's that?
I've got his injury history right here.
Go ahead.
I just pulled it up. Okay, Kwon Alexander's history. This is actually interesting. Like, this thing actually shows the human body like this, the outline with like red dots where all the injuries.
Oh, right. How many? I'm curious. This is good.
Yeah, we've got about 6 on. We got 6 on this one. Okay, they're saying that his chance of injury in 2022 is 68%, that he will miss at least 2 quarters. Somehow they calculate this. Very interesting. Projected games missed in 2022 is 1.9. Here's his injury history. September 17, 2017, grade 2 hamstring strain. Then we go to October 21st, 2018, tore his ACL. That finished him for 2018, obviously.
Right.
Then he came back for October. I feel like this is Blake Cashman part 2, except he's actually productive. That's the last time we did this was Blake Cashman. God bless him. All right, October 31st, Halloween 2019, tore his pec out for the season. So he played about half a season in 2019. Then February 14th, 2020, February 14th, tore his bicep. He went surgery to repair a biceps injury that he played through during the playoffs and the Super Bowl.
Maybe he had a broken heart. Maybe that's what it was on Valentine's Day.
So he came back for the playoffs and then tore his biceps at some point, then had to get surgery on that. Okay, on to 2020. High ankle sprain, missed 4 games. And finally, December 25th, 2020, Achilles tear. That's never a good one. But nothing's listed for 2021. So, yeah, he's there's a good chance he's going to have an injury that's going to knock him out for a couple of games. So,
yeah, like I said, I mean, you're looking at, there was a few years when he didn't make 12. He did 16 once. He's had 12 a few times. So, again, I'm not saying he's not an injury guy, but I think like if you're not like depending on him to be your full-time starter, I think it could work. And I think it's certainly a positive addition. For especially with our linebacking core, it's predominantly young. We got C.J. Mosley and a bunch of kids running around, even Quincy Williams for that matter. But you know what I like? I like that, being reminded that Quincy Williams was essentially picked up off the scrap heap last year, late in the offseason, right? It was one of the final cuts. Joe Douglas went and scooped them up. I said, oh, great, we went and got Quincy Williams, or Quinnen Williams' brother. Yay. And I think we got to remember that he didn't, just like everybody else, we give a lot of credit, or a lot of leeway for the rooks and everybody with the new system. Quincy Williams had no training camp with us. So he came in and was kind of thrown into, in large part, starting duty. So I think, him having the offseason in the program, hanging out with Nikki and everybody else. I think it could only bode to, be a positive turn for him as well. And we already know he could be a thunderous hitter. So I think, look, Kwon Alexander's strength is pass coverage. Quincy Williams' strength is lumping people up. So maybe this frees him up to be a heat-seeking missile, which would be pretty good. I'd love to see a little Quincy Williams blindside Lamar Jackson action week 1. I'd love that. So, hey, did you know that we signed Kwon Alexander? You do now? All right. Team Bean's been – real quick. Dude, I saw his practice. This was his first high school football practice ever. I went down to the field and I watched these coaches running these. Dude, they were battering these kids with drill to drill. Come on, go, runner. And it was like, I was like, wow. And it was hot. How'd you feel? Were you tired? Definitely. They were yelling. I heard this 5 or 6 times. This is football. This is football. They were just letting them know, man. You want to sign up? You think you're going to be a big star? This is what's needed first. And I love that. I love getting kids in shape. I love running. I love quick. You know what they would do if the kids didn't run to the next drill? They had like 4 groups and they would go 3 minutes in each drill or whatever. If one kid walked, the whole team had to run back to the previous drill and then run again. So, what happens there? The kid that's walking, everybody's like, dude, we're going to kill you. We're going to murder your family if you don't start running from drill to drill, fatty. That's how that goes. So anyway, congrats on your first day of high school football, kid. Yeah, congrats. Yeah, so Kwon Alexander. Anyway, Slago, everything was wrong with the defense. Snowball says Ulbrich manned up and said he didn't do enough for the defense last year. Yeah, and look, I like that too. I like that too. But at the same time, just like Adam Gase would say all the time, I don't know, we got to. Bowles did the same thing. We got to do this better. We got to do. Yeah, it only goes so far, So we'll give Ulbrich this. And look, Saleh trusts him, so there's that. But I think he gets a full year audition. I just hope that if Ulbrich does suck, that the friendship doesn't supersede the need to move on. That's all I would say. But anyway, what do you think, Frankie? Remember when Robert Saleh came out and kind of clarified Ulbrich's statements about, the 70% thing and 30 plays. And Robert Saleh essentially said, well, look, Jeff thinks that they're going to get off the field in 3 plays. You know what I mean? So if the defense does go out and they don't get any first downs, 30 plays is a lot. You know what I mean? So maybe that's what's really going on. The defense is going to be so good that they're not on the field at all. That's why Quinnen Williams and the like having 30 plays is a good thing. What do you think of that, Frankie?
Well, that plays into it. I mean, obviously we want to control the clock, and that keeps everybody fresh on the sidelines. But you also need player depth. I mean, Coach Whitecotton talked about, we think about it like we should have 8 starters on the defensive line. 8. Last year, we didn't have close to 8 of the quality that we need to play the position. You can't have people named Freedom and Timmy Ward and all these people who aren't very good playing. We need 8 starter caliber dudes out there. And once you have that, then you're going to see what the defense can do. I mean, I think we got to just wait and see what it can do. And I do think Quincy's going to take a big step up. I think they think so, and I would agree. And it'll be fun to see what he can do. And and I think Jordan Whitehead is getting slept on also. That was a huge acquisition for us. He's going to really help us.
Yeah. I mean, especially in the run game. And let's not forget, man, Jermaine Johnson, we all look at him as a pass rusher, and rightfully so. Like, we're hoping he could be that for us. But the part of his game that's more rock solid is his run defense. I mean, so we're getting the full package here with this guy. So, it's not quite as grim as maybe we think. At least hopefully there is light and, at the end of the tunnel. I mean, there's hope on the team. And I think Jordan Whitehead and Jermaine Johnson are big parts of that hope.
Absolutely. All I want from Jermaine Johnson is to contain the edge. If Jermaine Johnson didn't get a whole sack this year, but he contained the edge and forced everything inside, I'd be happy with him.
So we want him to be like Calvin Pace?
I'm not familiar with the techniques of Calvin Pace, but what I'm saying is we're running a wide 9 right now. I don't think we were running that before. Well, Calvin Pace
3-4 versus 4-3. Yeah. I can see how a defensive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I don't think it's exactly comparable, but in this system, you need a wide 9 guy on the edge who contains the edge. That's what you need. We didn't have that last year. That was one of the many, many problems we had.
Yeah, and if you're just talking about like the Calvin Pace impact, I mean, tell you what, for right now, like for his first year or two, I think that would be more than adequate. That'd be great. Adding that Calvin Pace impact. Calvin Pace was a very, very good player. Now, he might not have been, getting the sack numbers that a lot of people hoped. I think he did reach 10 once or twice, but he was always in the 7 to 10 range. But he was good, and at all around game, he was a very, very solid player to have on the team. And if Jermaine Johnson can come out of the box that way, I'd be very, very happy with that, especially when Carl Lawson's going to get 24 sacks and take the record this year. It's going to be crazy.
And no quarterback's going to be laying down for those sacks. And hey, Bryce Huff, I've been made fun of a time or two on the show for supporting Bryce Huff the way I do, but 2 sacks today, getting around Becton. Just letting you know, Bryce Huff, watch for him. I'm telling you, Vinny Curry, I don't think is going to make the team. And I think Bryce Huff is going to be the reason why.
I agree. Well, look, when you have Michael Clemens, right, who showed up naked to opening day of training camp, he shows up naked. He's, look, they just used a 4th round pick on him. You have guys look, we signed Jacob Martin. We gave Jacob Martin enough money. He's here. All right. And then you have young bucks like Bryce Huff. Whatever Zuniga can do, I think he's going to have a hard time fighting his way back in. But then you also have young talent like Bradley and we also have Tim Ward and Tanzel Smart and all these guys that have, that youth upside aspect. And a guy like Vinny Curry, I think his impact in training camp is going to be, extremely helpful. But he's a guy, I think, because of the age, he might be the odd man out. I agree, and I think I'd love to see him on the practice squad with the new rules on the practice squad these last couple of years. But I find it hard to believe, unless there are just major injuries, that we're going to push some of these young guys off the team for a guy like Vinny Curry. I mean, as much as I do like him, and I was sad to see him go last year, we were counting on him. But I don't know. I think going with the youth is a good idea. What do you think, Frankie?
I don't know. I think people don't understand how good Vinny Curry is because they didn't see him play last year. And Bryce Huff is fine. And he's one of these guys who always is going to do well in training camp and in preseason. He played okay last year. He has good get off. He has potential. It's going to be a battle. I think if I had to guess, I think they're going to stick with Vinny Curry, but I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. I think that's one of the camp battles. Like starting free safety is a camp battle. That's a camp battle. Wide receiver 5 is a camp battle. I don't know. I could see it going either way. If I had to guess, I would think they're going with Curry.
But remember, Huff did hurt his back rather early in the season. He did come back, and he wasn't quite the same. I think he was never healthy after he came back. I think now he's good to go. And I think now we're going to see him at full health. So
that's it. Like, look, I think a lot all the way around. We have a lot of guys to truly evaluate. Again, I think if things are equal, right? And I agree, Frank. I think Vinny Curry is good, man. And on the Eagles, he was a very, very integral part of that rotation that they had. Keeping the pass rush and the defensive line strength intact during rotations. Vinny Curry was part of that. He was a big deal. And I think that's not to be overlooked. But I think if things are equal, Bryce Huff, Vinny Curry, whoever else, I think that youth would supersede, the leadership. I think we have enough veterans smattered around the joint that would be the way to go. We could, hey, who knows? There is a question about, and we'll end with this. Where did it go? Oh shit! Where did it? Okay, Brandon McNeely's saying, "What about GreenBean's guy Pirine, man? What a New York sports talking to you? Do you think he makes the team? And other Florida man Zuniga? What do you think, Watch-UK? Pirine making the team? What about Zuniga?
I'm trying to see if this is a Florida Gators fan going by the avatar, by the picture there. I'm thinking that might have something to do with it. If I had to put it this way, if I had to bet on one of the two making the team, I will go with Pirine. That said, I will be stunned if either of them make the team. I think with running backs, it will be Hall, Carter, Coleman, And if you want to throw Nick Bawden at fullback, you could do that. But I think it's just going to be 3 running backs. I mean, if we want to have these extra defensive linemen, if we want to have an extra tight end or something like that, you have to take away from some position. Now they have Kwon Alexander. All of a sudden now we're going to have an extra linebacker. We're probably going to have 5, maybe 6. You have to take away from some positions. So for me, I'm sticking with 3 running backs.
Yeah. Frankie, what do you think? What do you think about this? That question, P. Ryan?
I think Zuniga could be cut, and I think the Kwon Alexander signing could be Zuniga's cutting. I think we could see a release tomorrow because we do have to release somebody. There has to be somebody who comes off to allow Kwon to come on when he officially signs, because I think Zuniga, we have too many defensive linemen, and we got to start getting rid of some. And I think they may do Zuniga the favor of, hey, we'll release you now. You can try to catch on with some other team at the beginning of camp. P. Ryan, I think we're going to try to sneak onto the practice squad, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think P. Ryan's a lock. That's what I think. I think P. Ryan is an absolute. I think I'm serious, man. Right. I think nobody knows. Nobody knows except me. I'm the only one. And listen, when he's on the team and he gets his first 100-yard game or first touchdown ever, I want everybody to fucking stand up and cheer GreenBean. That's what I want.
I hope they can keep Bam Knight on the practice squad, though. I hope they don't lose. I want them to keep Bam Knight. I really do too.
Why wouldn't they be able to sneak Bam Knight onto the P squad? Do you think? I mean, he went undrafted.
Yeah.
What is he going to do between now and then to
give
like
us maybe
Kenny Yeboah last year?
Yeah.
We were all upset. We were all upset when we cut Kenny. We had to technically cut Kenny Yeboah.
We were nervous.
We were all upset. I was upset. I was like, these reports are false.
Yeah.
I was really mad. And then we found out, they signed him to the P squad. Okay, good. We still got him. I think the same thing would happen to Bam Knight for sure. I would have to think.
Yeah, I see guys talking about Ty Johnson, Tego, and some others saying Ty Johnson over P. Ryan. Dude, I would be disappointed because Ty Johnson, he had 5 drop passes, 4 were third downs, and I think he had 2 fumbles as well, and he's a complete liability in pass protection. Now, his ability with the ball in his hand is exceptional, but dude, that shit's hard to overlook, man. And I don't think we should have any confidence. I mean, that one game he had 3 consecutive third down drops. I mean, dude,
that's killer.
I mean, right. And we talk about Zach Wilson, dude, that killed 3 drives in one game, and that's the kind of stuff that you see with him. He's feast or famine. One game he looks electric. The next game, there are people sacking the quarterback over him. He's dropping passes. He's completely gone. I don't know, man. As much as I like his ability, I can't see it, man. I just can't. Now, but I will say there's a reason why the staff wasn't playing P. Ryan last year. They played him in one game. They ran him 8-9 times. You got a 4-yard average, which is kind of what P. Ryan does. And they just never played him again. So I don't know what that is. So
but there is something positive in what happened, GreenBean. Now Austin Walter played ahead of him last year, but when it came time to decide who to keep this year, Austin Walter we said goodbye and we kept P. Ryan. So that tells you something.
It does. Look, and P. Ryan put out that tweet recently. He said, "I love when you sleep on your boy." You know what I mean? That's
Sounds good to me. I remember just a couple of years ago, I think it was when Frank Gore was getting 900 touches a game, and then Gase would put Ty Johnson on the field for like 1 series. He'd get 1 series a game. He'd look really good, and we'd be clamoring for more Ty Johnson on the field. When we got more Ty Johnson on the field, and now we can't wait to kick his butt to the curb.
Well, what's funny, in the same way. He did something very similar, but even more nefarious with P. Ryan. There was a stat that came out that said every time P. Ryan comes on the ball, 85 or more % of the time, he gets the ball through the A gap. So it's like a defense knows that, man. Like if they bring this guy on, more than likely they are going to hand him the ball and it's going to be right here. So how is somebody supposed to succeed in that? You know what I mean? Like if you leave him on the field for a few series and he gets the ball once and then he flares out and then he's blocked, then you can't put a finger on what he's doing. 80, I forget the exact number, and forgive me for that, but I'm just using 85 as an example. It was way up top like that. Like, if it's that high that they run the same damn play when he comes on the field, it's like the Pirine play, then how is anybody supposed to succeed at that? Defenses are not stupid. They pay attention to that stuff. They know. They are aware of what plays come out of which alignments. That's why good offensive coordinators are worth their weight in gold. You know, Adam Gase was not that.
And if they keep using Pirine the same way, that probably shows how limited he is. That's why he's not blocking. That's not why he's taking the ball to the outside. He's not catching the ball in the flat. It's just one run up the middle. I was hoping he could be like a new Bilal Powell for us. But,
dude, but listen, when they did run him to the outside, you got to watch. I have a video on my channel. Go take a look at it. The Pirine video. I isolated every single run from his rookie year. Go take a look at it if you want. It's not that he's limited. It's that, just like you said with Ty Johnson, and that was Adam Gase. Like, that's what he did. He gave the offense to Frank Gore, and he would bring on the kid and run him a play. It wouldn't work, and then he would get. You know what I mean? That's what he did. Adam, that was, you know, and I mean, look, Pirine is never going to be Barry Sanders. I want to make sure that nor do I think he's going to be a bell cow back. He's a good back to have on the like in the room on the team, because he's a consistent back. He's a 4.5 yard average consistently, and he is very, very soft hands, and he's exceptionally strong in pass protection. So like, that's a guy to keep around. Now, if you prefer the feast or famine because of the big play, okay, I disagree with that. I would go with consistency every day of the week over that feast or famine guy. Like, one week he's blowing everybody's doors off and running for touchdowns, and the next week he's dropping 3 consecutive third down passes. That to me is a guy to get off the team. You know what I mean? That's just
agreed.
Me.
No, I absolutely agree with that.
I'd like to see what Pirine does in this offense.
Yeah,
I don't want to see him in the Gase offense, but this offense is all about reading. So I mean, I got to see how he reads and what his vision's like. I don't know, but I'd like to keep him around. I mean, can't we get Pirine onto the P squad at least?
I don't see why not.
Last year, yeah, I'd imagine.
I mean, I can't keep him around. He's useful, but
running backs are a dime a dozen as much as any position anyway.
Yeah, so just keep the guy you've had and who knows your system and all that.
Yeah, well, there's a time. There was a time when we did the same thing with Raheem Mostert, and believe me, I remember Jets fans were like, Jag. He was on our practice squad. We didn't do anything with him, and then he fucking goes to Niners, and he's Raheem Mostert. He got himself a nice contract in Miami, and I mean, he's considered a good back. And that one time he was buried in on our practice squad with no Jets fan wanted to. I mean, maybe there's some guy out there who loved him, but overall, by and large, Jets fans looked at Raheem Mostert as a jag, and he wasn't here too long. But I remember those conversations, on Jetnation and wherever else. And look, again, I'm not saying Pirine like drug monkey here, drug monkey prescription. RX says Pirine. Like, I get it, but I think when people say those things, they don't know what they're talking about. It's an assumption, just because you haven't seen much. When you look at Pirine's college tape, he had a 6.7 yard average his senior year, and he's never gonna be Adrian Peterson. That's not who, but he's a good quality football player with a well-rounded game, also plays special teams, who you would, if it got down to the third back and you had to give him the ball, he's going to get you 4.5 yards on average, which will win you the game, by the way. That's enough.
I think the best we could hope for with him would be this year he's on the P squad. Next year, after Tevin Coleman's gone, he becomes RB3, something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. I mean, and I know I'm a realist. I'm aware of the just insatiable love they have for Tevin Coleman, and I understand it. But it's like, for me, I would hate to lose any of the young backs for Tevin Coleman. He's only going to be here a year, and it's not a shot at Tevin Coleman in any way, shape, or form. But I'm with you, Frankie. So if Pirine makes it to the practice squad, and then you have maybe, if there's an injury, he gets elevated, but he stays there. And then next year, he's year 3 in the system, and he's our back 3. That's, gives them, 8 carries a game kind of a thing, but he's there in pass protection. Like, he's a good pass blocker, man. And that has value, dude. That's value.
Yeah.
Zuniga, I like Zuniga. I'm losing my vigor. to defend Zuniga. I mean, it's his injury thing.
He's
and he
got to
can-
go.
you know,
He's got to go. We have too many
Yeah.
D linemen. Some of these people have to leave. We can't.
We have like 14, 15 guys. We haven't even mentioned. We always overlook Jonathan Marshall. You talk about upside. I mean, that is one of the
Marshall's
guys that people play well.
Yeah, Marshall's sticking, but I mean, you got guys like Zuniga and Smart and Rashid. Those guys have to go because there's just no room here.
Yeah.
But Marshall's sticking. Well, he's not going.
I'm just talking about a player who could surprise us and really elevate the game. That's something I'm really hoping for.
Yeah,
but he
that'd
has
be
to
nice.
prove he can play against the run. He really
That'd be
has to
nice.
do it. Yeah.
Now, Maximilian, this is the thing with this is it. This encapsulates the whole argument about Pirine. He would, if he was good, he would have done some. We would have. That's not necessarily accurate. You know what I mean? Like that's a lack of information. What's this saying, Frankie? A lack of information is not causation or some shit like that. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a lack of information. You know what I mean? And again, we saw him his rookie year. I'm not saying it was great, but there was more than enough. More than whether it's moving the pile, whether it's making the first two guys miss. Just watch my video. I put it out there for you. Nobody watched that one either, Frankie. I put a week into that damn video. Nobody cared.
It's always the ones we labor
10
over.
seconds.
Like,
That's why I just do my videos on the fly. I do them in 10 minutes, and that's why they blow up to like 9 views. They're amazing.
Yeah, again, Maximilian.
But I mean, don't forget. I mean, we were in year one of a freaking rebuild, man. Yet we should throw last year out in a certain sense. I mean, let them get settled. Let them install the foundations of their system. This isn't Bill Belichick with 23 years on the same team and knows every day, every second of every day what's going to happen. We had a bunch of newbies coming in here trying to figure out what's going on. We'll see what happens with Pirine. I think they like him because of what I said before. They could have kept him or Walter, and they kept him. So that tells you they like him to some degree because they didn't have to keep him around, but they did.
Yeah. Yeah. And look again, when it boils down, all we want to see is a successful team. If that means players that you liked in college or whatever have to go, then they have to go. That's the way it goes. But I just hate seeing stupid moves by the team. Like for many, many years, and you guys probably relate, the moves we were making, a lot of people said, well, the Jets know more than us. That's kind of the tagline for the Jets for years. And it has not been correct. You know what I mean? Like the moves we make, the picks, the selection, it's like we were as fans saying the opposite, and we were right more than the Jets were. And that's why it's so frustrating. You know what I mean?
Does Bill Belichick know more than us when he makes a first round pick of N'Keal Harry? I mean,
Cole Strange.
Well, that one hasn't played out, but
we'll see. Tyquan Thornton.
He took N'Keal Harry and then traded him for a 7th. But Bill Belichick's the genius of all geniuses with 6 rings, and nobody can question any decision he makes. But N'Keal Harry was clearly a failure, as one example. There's plenty others.
Yeah.
So I mean, people make. I mean, I find that criticism odd, Greenbean. It's really weird. You guys know more than the team does, so I guess we're not supposed to say anything.
And look, and famously, there's that one clip. When the Jets chose Kenny O'Brien over Dan Marino, there's that very famous clip of the guy going, I don't know. Well, clearly the Jets know something we don't know.
Right.
And that was not accurate. And as much as I loved Kenny O, man, I'm a Kenny O guy. Love Kenny O.
But he's not Dan Marino.
Well, let's be right. Can we just be real here and stop being fanboys? Like the pick was Dan Marino. And it's like, okay, all right. But that argument, like, look, the Jets do know more than us. They have more information, they have more access and all that, but that doesn't mean that they're making all the right decisions. And us as fans, I think in general, as far as fan bases go, we are considered an educated fan base. We are here. We pay attention, man. Jets fans are into this thing way more than most of the other teams. Not to say other teams don't have educated fans, right? But Jets fans in general, we are obsessed with this shit and we pay attention. And for many years, we were making the right calls and the Jets were not. So now Joe Douglas, I feel significantly better at. The jury's still out with Robert Saleh and his crew. We don't know. I mean, I like them. I think we have some real hope and legitimate hope, but at the same time, we don't know. We don't know, like, if their decision to put Mekhi Becton at right tackle, or their decision to, tough love Denzel Mims, or, we don't know what they're still learning. They're new at this. They have their but they're new in their positions. So we don't know what they're going to do and their roster and everything. But I will say I have the utmost confidence in Joe Douglas. I don't expect him to be perfect, but I have confidence in that guy. So we'll see. We'll see. And again, look, if they decide to cut Pirine, believe me, I'm not going to cry over it, or any of the guys I like. I love bottom of the roster guys. That's kind of my gig, man. I like the bottom of the roster guys. Like, yes, we all talk about Jermaine Johnson and CJ Mosley, whoever else up top, Zach Wilson, but I like kind of disseminating, the bottom of the right, kind of figuring out who's, and I love when guys pop out of that. The Victor Greens, the Snacks Harrisons, the Sione Pujas. Like, I like that, Yeah.
It's fun to do. Yeah, it's fun to do. And next thing you know, we think we have the 53 man in place. Next thing you know, they cut 5 more guys, and they bring 5 other guys from other teams who are cut. So it's like I used to have a thing where I would have a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet with every player who's in camp and try to project it as it would go along. And after a couple of years, I'm like, why am I even doing this? They get their 53 that I think are in place, and then they get rid of 5 of them. It's like, remember the one year they cut Tony Richardson and brought him back 2 days later? At that point, I was like, I can't keep up with this crap anymore.
I know.
They're just going to do whatever they want.
It's tough because and especially like Joe Douglas is particularly active. And that the Jets have been, even Mike McCagnon was active with that stuff, but Joe Douglas is particularly active, and it's hard to keep up with that. Just to your point, to your example, Trader Mike was active too. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, and it can be difficult. But the good news is when guys like us are paying attention to the draft like we do, we can identify those guys. Like, we recognize in many instances when those switcheroons go on. We know, like when we signed Bradley and I in the middle of it was a ghost town in the NFL, and the Jets just plucked Bradley and I. A lot of us were like, yeah, like I loved Bradley and I coming out as a developmental prospect. And I think he was buried on the Dallas Cowboys, very, very strong pass rush, defensive unit. And he was buried. And it's like he has a real chance, a super crazy athletic guy. And I like that we brought him in and there's so many examples that, like, we recognize the guys that are coming and going. And it's really fun. Bottom of the roster is hard. You know what I mean? And especially for a team like us, and it's just so piss poor at it for so long. But like when we have these guys, and even Robbie Anderson's another great example. Many Jets fans said the guy is a jag. He sucks. He's too light. He's too skinny. He's too weak. He's going to get his back broken, like all that kind of stuff. He's particularly, he's not injury prone. I forget the word I was looking for there. Durable. He's particularly durable. And look, he made it, and then there was the whole police thing, telling cops that his wife should do stuff. And, there was a lot there with Robbie Anderson, but you give these guys time to develop, and they can make something of themselves. And I specifically enjoy that end of being a football fan. I love when guys who are supposed to be nobodies work their asses off and make it. Wayne Corbett, great example. He was just a walk-on tryout. He wasn't even an undrafted free agent. He just walked over because he happened to be a student at Hofstra. And they were practicing there. He walked over. At one time, he was 12th on the depth chart. 12th in wide receiver depth. I mean, you look at him. So anyway, that's just the fun stuff. And look,
the thing is with these bottom of the roster guys, it said how you have to go back 10 to 20 to 30 years. It said that we have been so bad at mid-round picks and late-round picks for so long that we don't even know what it's like to see a 4th-round pick hit or a 5th-round pick hit.
I know. I know. And that's why, like, a guy like Fadu Kasi is such a fan favorite, because he's a very, very rare Mike McCagnon late-round hit. You know what I mean? Like, yes. He's a hit. And it's like, so to see those guys go, it's like, shit, man, we finally get one and the new regime doesn't want them. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. It could be frustrating. But anyway. Oh, yeah, Jets Mess says, I might shed a tear for Yeboah. Well, why would I shed a tear? He's going to be here for years.
He's going to be a P Squad legend.
Yeah, Kenny Yeboah is fine. He's a very talented, hardworking player, and also a high character guy. So
New
he's got
number.
everything they want.
Did you know he got a new number, Green Bean?
Yeah.
Yeah, 88,
Every
no
time.
less.
Yeah.
He's
New
out
number,
too.
new start.
Yeah,
That's
Kenny
right.
hanging out with Ross Pierschbacher. Yeah, they're going to become best buds. They might be roommates. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. But you know what? I thought Denzel Mims should have taken the opportunity to get a new number too, like just to add to the fresh start thing, especially when Jermaine Johnson wanted it. But I mean, defensive ends can't be 11. That's why. So there was no argument there. But I thought Denzel Mims going maybe to 15 or something like that would have been nice and fresh, a new package, Frankie.
Yeah. Yeah. Then again, oh well. Can't have it all. Right. I mean, even Garrett Wilson didn't go with number 5 like I thought he was going to. What the heck? He threw out my whole nickname for him by not picking the right number. Come on, Garrett.
Well, Mike White has number 5, and Mike White's number 5 is in the Hall of Fame.
I'm sure he could be persuaded.
And not the Myrtle Beach
price.
Yeah, and not the Myrtle Beach Pro Football Hall of Fame that I went to. The actual one in Canton.
The actual one, right? The actual one. That was good though. Watch UK went and visited the South Carolina branch of the NFL Hall of Fame. It was cool though, wasn't it?
You know what? Yeah, because I was at Broadway at the Beach, which is like one of the main entertainment complexes in Myrtle Beach, and they have a 2-year agreement. The Pro Football Hall of Fame does, because they figured, in this area, there's a lot of beach, there's a lot of family-oriented stuff, but there's not really museums, indoor things to go see. So they figured this would be a good spot because you get people coming here from all over the country. So it's been a pretty big hit over there. I got to see Joe Namath's Super Bowl jersey, which was freaking awesome. Yeah. They had like sort of like a semicircle, like an amphitheater where they would play videos and had all these different jerseys and artifacts. And went back to the 1940s. And in the middle of the semicircle, when you walk in, is the Lombardi Trophy, the encased Lombardi Trophy. I put my hands right on the case at the outside of the trophy. Soon you will be ours.
Hey, doing your part, Y2K. We need to mind games. We need to add to the energies of the universe. Thank you, Y2K. I appreciate it.
And the other thing they had that was cool, they had an instant replay booth where you could watch plays and say, is this the right call? I'm into things where it can be interactive, like interactive museums. And you could say, is this the right call? Is this the wrong call? They had a sports science lab, like with Antonio Cromartie with his vertical, and so you could jump next to Antonio Cromartie and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So if you're in the Myrtle Beach area, it's going to be around till next July. And then they have a decision if they want to renew the lease over at Broadway at the Beach. So really cool place. It was fun.
Yeah, it sounds it. Now, conversely, I have in Charlottesville, we have a rare version of the Declaration of Independence on tour right now. So we could go see that. Little different, but exciting things around nonetheless. So we're going to look at one more comment. I will acknowledge Brandon McNeely's. I felt the exact same way, Brandon. I thought it was baloney. I thought there's no way. We were talking about Mike McCarthy or Matt Rule. I just thought this is a false report, and I waited an hour online on Jetnation. Well, I was just like, we're going to find out it's fake, guys. We're going to find out it's fake. Trust me. And we were wrong. So anyway, the last comment for the night is from Slaugo. Here we go. And I agree. JD has done such a good job. The only thing that can F it up is health and coaching. That's it. I agree. Now, that's not to say it's a Super Bowl roster, but this roster should be competing at an NFL level. It should be able to win any game. The only thing that can blow it is our health and our coaching. So what do you think, Frankie? Are you in agreement? Do you have something else, another way to look at that?
No, this is pretty much right. I mean, one thing you could say is, well, we have all these new players on defense. Maybe they're not going to coalesce and communicate, right off the bat. It might take a little while. That could be possible. But generally speaking, we've upgraded the roster significantly talent-wise. There's no doubt about it. Both free agency, draft, everything else, and all the young guys who got all those reps last year, we're going to have to start seeing the payoff of all that. So, yeah, agreed. I mean, I agree with this. We should be much better than we were last year. We really should.
I agree. All right. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up on that. It's funny. I still see some great comments in there. You guys are amazing. I want you to know that. People could check into this and not even watch us and just look at the chat all day, and it would be worth it. I'm telling you, you guys are fantastic. I mean that sincerely. Let's go around the room here and let's see what's going on. I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to thank you guys, Frankie and Wat2K, for being here. I want to thank Jeremy as well. He is no longer here. He had to leave for an obligation. But Wat2K, what do you got cooking, friend?
Well, so my channel is NY Sports Wicker Media, just like it says on the screen. And I also am putting articles on my personal blog at nysportswickermedia.blogspot.com. Today I did a Jets video and I did a Mets video. And it's interesting. The Mets video got a little more attention for the first time than the Jets video did. I had a little bit of a controversial take about the Subway Series. Some agreed with it, some didn't agree with it. But that's all the fun of it. So, but check me out Wednesday nights with Jeremy, 10 p.m. at the Jets Chaos channel. We have a fantastic time. And hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Can't wait to get the season started.
Nice. Good stuff. NY Sports Wicker Media, Wat2K, our buddy. Frankie, what do you got going on over there?
Frankie from Flatbush Channel. There's always Tuesday News Day, so where we take a look at the media and we take a look at these seedy media people and see what's going on, and also the good ones too. We do a lot of we take a look at all the positive and good people doing media stuff. We'll have video. We'll go live on Saturday mornings, Coffee with Frankie at 11 a.m. So come join me Saturday morning, 11 a.m. We'll talk about the latest goings on in Jetsland.
Yeah, and I'm a firm supporter of the channel, but I will say, going out on the limb, Tuesday News Day is one of my absolute favorite Jets, content creator shows, period. It's one of my favorites. I love watching it. If you guys haven't checked it out, please do. With that all said, a couple small reminders. Number one, if you want to help the Wayward Jets fan GoFundMe, there is a link in the description. You can donate any portion of whatever money you have, $1, $100,000, whatever it is, and we're going to be getting as many Jets fans to Jets games this year. Specifically, we're starting obviously with week 1. We have enough to get Iowa there. Iowa's going. He's the one who started this GoFundMe. It's now morphed into a larger GoFundMe here, and we have I think we have a list of like 3 or 4 people that would love it from Missouri and New Mexico, guys who've never been to Jets games. We're trying to collect as much money as they would need to get there, even ticket and airfare and all the shit that it takes to get a Jets fan to their first Jets game. We're trying to do that. If you would like to be added to the list, DM me on my Instagram or Twitter, Greenbeanjetsfan. It's just Greenbeanjetsfan, actually, on Twitter and Instagram. Let me know if you'd like to be on the list, and we're going to get as many as we can. I'll also remind you to we have just a rockin' time in the Beanbaggers. That is my Patreon group. Lots of access to Green Bean and some specific private content, early releases, all that kind of stuff. And you can do that in the link in the description as well. Guys, I want to thank you for being here. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. That's the easy stuff. You could do it on your way out. We're grateful for your presence here, and it's another good one. 3 hours, man. This is nice and long, but thanks for sticking around. We'll see you next time.
As a Hall of Fame voting group, we need to re-examine some careers, and I think we need to re-examine the career of Joe Klecko.
Dang, I want to see how I do against this guy, because he was the best.
Left guard can't handle Klecko.
Just knock the crap out of the guy across from you.
Intensity, bottom line. Never take a play off.
He was incredibly strong.
His just pure raw strength.
He was the same every play. Ball zone.
It was an incredible accomplishment to be dominant at one position in the NFL in your career, but to be dominant at 3 positions.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over there and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.